Chapter 448. Lu Zhongguang's voice made Tang Tian want to kick him in the face. Listen to my asshole. Brave my asshole. I don't want to. You should be brave. Ah, 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 ah. Tang Tian screamed, truly brimming with the beauty of art. Dong, 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 dong. Ling Su righteously said, Brother will not snatch what he likes. He will definitely feel great. Ling Su said with certainty and seriousness, his words filled with envy. The rhythm of both parties was in sync. Uncle Bing had a cigarette in his mouth, standing not far from Tang Tian's whirlpool swords. He puffed out a smoke ring and said, truly a heavenly sound, seeing the worried expressions on their faces. As expected, happiness comes from comparison. If it was said that previously everyone still had other thoughts, but now everyone was convinced. The two of them turned, only to see Crane quietly using his sword, writing a praise on the floor. This was the cruelest part of the whirlpool sword spirit tempering technique. Not only would it not cause the martial artist to faint, but instead, following the sword aura's continuous tempering of the martial spirit, the martial artist's sixth senses would become even more sensitive, and the pain that originated from the soul would be extremely profound. But he was not randomly giving out ideas. The reason why Draco Constellation was able to maintain its prestige for the past few years was because of their outstanding internal affairs. Unlike Andromeda Constellation's business, Ursa Major Constellation's battle prowess, Draco Constellation actually did not have many resources to be able to have their current position, was because they had a group of core internal affairs talents and a perfect grooming system. What a pity! Uncle Bing stood up and flicked the cigarette holder in his hand. If we can sell tickets, we can earn a huge sum. Uncle Bing squatted down, took out the cigarette holder from his mouth, and wrote on the floor, You are full of twists and turns. You are loud and clear. You are endless. You are full of emotions. Who are you? You are electricity. You are light. You are the only crazy person. Long Shou quietly listened to the sounds coming from the bear egg, and could not help but sigh. It had been a long time since he had heard such a pure and explosive drumming performance. Although there were still flaws in his technique, it was as wild as a wild beast, as smooth as a storm, and as incisive as a heart-wrenching scream. It could be said to be perfect. Not necessarily no chance. How many chances? Although Long Shou Jing's tone was calm, it could not help but reveal a wave of power. The few of them saw the fatigue on Long Shou Jing's face and hurriedly retreated. Crane's figure was natural and unrestrained, elegant and out of this world. A sky dragon martial artist said in a deep voice, Through the sensing distance, we can roughly determine their strength. They should be sages. Although they had disguised their appearances, their attire still left some clues. After some investigation, we roughly found the target. The three of them are saints of Cetus Constellation. The bald man is Fist Saint Do Yong, the middle-aged scholar is Sword Saint He Yuming, and the lady in white is Zither Saint by CC. Following such a boss, the future was bright. A complete set of drums. I understand what you're thinking, but why hadn't they made a move after so many days? It is very simple. The whirlpool swords are too thick. They could not find a chance to attack. Long Shou Jing said gently, This is Ursa Major Constellation. They have the home advantage, and wield the Saint treasure. Once His Majesty completes his tempering, how can they have a chance? And the worst thing was even the sounds around him could pass through the thick whirlpool swords and bore into his ears. There was completely no way out. The sky dragon martial artists beside him all nodded their heads. Prince Shou Jing's artistic cultivation was extremely profound. To be able to receive such an evaluation, it meant that the other party's attainments were extremely profound. All of them anxiously wanted to gain merits and take the chance to solidify Draco Constellation's position. Long Shou Jing could understand their sense of danger. Dong dong dong, dong dong dong. Yaya, with his short legs and short hands, jumped up, waving the wooden club in his hands. Yaya came out from nowhere, sneakily running to a place not far from Tang Tian. Hearing Tang Tian's miserable howls, he immediately became excited, his small hands pounding his chest like raindrops, raising his head and shouting, ah, ah, ah. His Majesty Bear King's side was truly filled with hidden dragons and crouching tigers. To actually have a music expert, most probably this expert wanted to use this method to alleviate His Majesty's pain. After the few of them left, the room regained its peace. Long Shou Jing's face revealed a bitter smile. To be an idle person, he never thought that it would be so difficult. This world truly made people feel despair. But his voice was completely drowned out by Tang Tian's miserable screams, and could not be heard at all. No. The Sky Dragon martial artist hesitated for a moment. If St. Liang Feng can make a move, we might have a chance. Listen, listen. What a brave cry. Yaya immediately became high, entering an unprecedented state of excitement. It was like an extremely nimble little flea jumping around the drumsticks. The drumsticks were like rain. The frequency was extremely fast. Every drumstick used all of its strength and puffed up its cheeks. Ling Su scratched his head. Everyone was writing, except for him. It seemed to be of a lower class. He awkwardly raised his silver spear and scribbled, "A true brave warrior dares to face the miserable cries of life." The few of them were overjoyed, as expected of His Majesty. His eyes were sharp. Long Shou Jing sighed. He was naturally indifferent and did not like to fight for power. If not for him not wanting to see Sky Dragon die, why would he take on such matters? He had originally planned to enter Ursa Major constellation and be a good puppet, since puppets were no different to him. Lu Zhongguang was stunned, Ashio was stunned, Adrian was stunned. All of the lupus martial artists were stunned by the scene in front of them. Who knew Tang Tian did not give him the chance to retreat, and directly threw him a bunch of things. Currently, all of Draco Constellation's eyes were on him. He had become the representative of Draco Constellation, and his position was directly related to Draco Constellation's position in the system. And in the core region of the Bear Egg, there was enough space for Draco Constellation. To the various families of Draco Constellation, it was an irresistible temptation. Yaya stopped and then disappeared again. After a while, it brought the bronze sheep, tortoise, and squirrel over sneakily. The bronze sheep had 4 different sized drums on its body, the tortoise had a treading hoe on its back, and the adorable little squirrel had 2 hands, one holding a hoe. What made them even happier was that upon seeing His Majesty, Prince Shoujing was placed in an important position. To the martial artists of Draco Constellation, this made their suspicions disappear. 40% star power concentration, as expected of a son of an aristocratic family. Uncle Bing exclaimed in admiration. For such a memorable occasion, we truly have to leave something behind. The various families had already sent their most talented and outstanding young men to Ursa Major constellation, and amongst them were their sons and nephews. The entire Draco constellation had already started to accept the result of being merged into Ursa Major constellation. For Prince Shoujing to be able to enter Tang Tian's inner circle of authority was extremely important to them. It was because of this stimulation that they worked extremely hard. Towards Tang Tian, everyone's initial conflict had gradually turned into admiration. To have the courage to try out the Whirlpool Sword Spirit Tempering Technique, such a person was a true warrior. Furthermore, as the king of a constellation, to be so resolute, decisive, and fierce, it made people revere him. Long Shou Jing shook his head. Then you will have to pay the price of more than 6 people. How many gold rank martial artists of Draco Constellation are left? Only 6. What about the half-step gold rank martial artists? There are only 30 of them, and that is already the last strength of Draco Constellation. After a while, Long Shou Jing did not have any reply. The few heavenly dragon martial artists looked at each other. They had spent a lot of effort to investigate the origins of these three people with the intention of making a contribution. But now His Highness only said, "I got it," and did not continue. Immediately, the few of them were at a loss. Yi took out 2 leg bones from nowhere and had an eager expression on its face. Music could make people relax. Your Highness, relax. We will definitely send the best internal affairs talents of Draco Constellation over. But Sita's constellation. Long Shou Jing muttered, as if deep in thought, "I got it." That was not the most excessive. Coming to listen to Tang Tian's howls every day became the best way for everyone to relax. Your Highness, these people definitely want to harm His Majesty. If we let them go, I'm afraid. One of the Draco martial artists tried to persuade him. Long Shou Jing could not help but sigh in his heart, since he had already done it. Then he had to do it better. He muttered for a while. Ursa Major Constellation's internal affairs talents are preserved very well, but they are currently in conflict with His Majesty, and Lupus Constellation itself does not have many talents, and Andromeda Constellation has yet to recover. To us, this is a rare opportunity. Let the various families send some experts over. Don't use mediocre people to make up the numbers. If you regret it in the future, don't blame others. Have you checked it out? Long Shou Jing asked gently. As long as these people stood firm, then Draco Constellation's future position would naturally not be low. 40%. The Draco martial artist stammered. Long Shou Jing's gaze landed on them and asked directly, "You guys have the confidence to win against them?" Tang Tian was humiliated to realize that he actually could not help but follow Yaya's rhythm and howl. "Do you want to feel good?" Bing glanced at Ling Su. Everyone was solemn. Although they were in and out of the palace and were influenced by what they saw and heard and were proficient in crafty plots and schemes, but they were still martial artists. What martial artists admired the most were always strong martial artists. Everyone kept quiet. "You guys are just anxious," Long Shou Jing comforted them, and said gently, "In this period of time, the other party will not have the chance. What you guys need to do is to work hard to raise your standards. Liang Feng's position as a saint does not represent Draco Constellation. If you guys want to gain something, there are only 2 ways. One is to become a saint, the other is to seriously groom the new generation. This war will definitely not end in a few years. Let's go." Crane took the lead and flew along the rope. He had a lot of things on his hands and was already extremely busy, but after hearing Tang Tian's howl for half an hour, his life was once again filled with hope. He heard some rustling sounds beside his ear. What would the future Ursa Major Constellation be like? Long Shou Jing suddenly had some expectations. Tang Tian could clearly feel every bit of pain. Tang Tian finally had a deep understanding of the darkness of human nature. This group of assholes. Wait till I get out. You guys better watch out. Tang Tian howled and cursed in his heart. Chapter 449. Sima Shao also noticed the quickly approaching scouts. His somewhat childish face was surprisingly calm, like a deep lake, calm without any ripples. Tang Tian's whirlpool sword spirit tempering technique shocked Bing. Scorpio Constellation was quiet and continued to be quiet. How many years will that take? Scorpio Constellation's star power concentration suddenly increased by a large margin. Sai Lei's face was filled with joy. The Dragon Crystal Spirit Core ores was something she wanted. It was an extremely rare material and was a specialty of Draco Constellation. When Sai Lei was researching on the various materials, he had a surprising discovery in a Dragon Crystal Spirit Core ores, which could seal spirit generals. He quickly found the important part of the plan, and at that time, he thought there must be something special inside to make Master willing to take such a huge risk. On top of a sparkling and translucent crystal floated a finger-sized spirit general. Once the war dragged on, everyone would be competing on their ability to produce blood. Scorpio constellation experienced a short period of shock and immediately went into an unprecedented celebration. Sima Zhao's gaze looked into the distance, the fanaticism in his eyes slowly becoming stronger, the soft and messy chestnut-colored hair that resembled a bird's nest, the childishness on his face was swept away and faintly revealed a tyrannical aura. The entire Heavens Road was holding their breaths, waiting for the Scorpio King to appear. This drop of spirit-devouring embryo is the latest technology. It is formed by extracting the fiercest spirit essence from spirit cards. Its ability to devour spirits is 1,000 times stronger than any other alliance general. Master, do not look down on this drop of spirit-devouring embryo. It cost 3 unique spirit cards, 10 purple gold grade cards, and even more gold grade cards. After a while, he awoke from his dream and immediately welcomed him. Mastery! Bear Egg was currently filled with people. How is it? Sima Zhao asked. A skinny camel was still bigger than a horse. The accumulation of tens of thousands of years was not ordinary. Aya, senior brother, don't feel inferior. Not everyone is crazy. Sima Zhao consoled. Hearing that, Sima Zhao cut his finger and squeezed out a drop of blood and dripped it into the crystal test tube. Thank you, Master Kuei. Sima Zhao bowed. Scorpio Magatama. Derong was startled. After a while, his face changed, his voice trembled. The 4 words had a huge impact on him, causing his mind to go blank. Sima Zhao spoke to the ordinary-looking old man beside him. However, they soon encountered a problem when they were refining the Soul Core Dragon Crystal. They couldn't refine a complete Soul Core Dragon Crystal. The more complete the Dragon Crystal Spirit Core, or was, the stronger the spirit generals it could contain. His heart skipped a beat. Derong's actions were the key to the entire plan. He knew how long his junior brother had prepared for this plan. When this fellow was sent to a remote constellation, he had already started to formulate this plan. Population. Just as everyone was discussing about the Ursa Major constellation, an even more shocking and explosive news swept through all the major constellations like a hurricane. In the mechanism laboratory, the lights were completely lit. Everyone was dirty, their eyes bloodshot. There were piles and piles of scrap parts and metal scraps. There was not even a place to stand. Many of the mechanical engineers found a random spot in the corner to take a nap, sleeping soundly. Bing was like a patient hunter, calmly and patiently waiting for his strength to rise. Sima Zhao then asked, "What about the casualties?" "Yes," the scout replied excitedly. With high morale, he turned and disappeared into the distance like a big bird. Sima Zhao said solemnly, "The Scorpio dynasty collapsed due to internal strife. Scorpio King Wang died in the palace. Under the protection of the loyal guards, his wife took Magatama and escaped the palace, fleeing for over 10,000 li, and then Magatama disappeared. Seeing this cave today, I finally understood. All the guards died and transformed into spirits and sealed Magatama. To seal a saint treasure, there must be a saint-level spirit general below. And for it to not disappear after 10,000 years, it requires an extremely dense death aura. This cave is not normal. In the era of the 3 great armies, this was an important passage to Scorpio constellation, where an extremely intense battle occurred, and it was said that the entire cave was filled with blood. After that, the death aura became too dense, so it was abandoned and sealed. What a strong death aura! Qiu Zhijun could not help but hold on to his sword hilt. The dense death aura that came out from the cave made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Now you can be at ease. Qiu Zhijun smiled. His heart was extremely happy. If we win this battle, Junior Brother will soar into the sky, and no one will be able to stop him. Junior Brother has spent so much effort on this plan, and victory is the best reward for him. And today, They finally refined a complete dragon crystal spirit core, or very quickly, new characteristics were discovered. Other than being able to seal spirit generals after refinement, it could also nourish spirit generals, allowing them to become even stronger and purer. Inside the bear egg, there was only one topic: special training. His gaze unconsciously landed on his junior brother's face. The shortcoming of all these armies was the realm of true power. Of course, in Bing's eyes, all these armies were cannon fodder, but if they were able to raise their true power by 2 levels, they would be able to become elite cannon fodder. The only reason for Scorpio constellation's decline was because of the disappearance of the Saint treasure. Scorpio constellation's martial techniques were preserved rather well among the many constellations. As long as Scorpio constellation found the Saint treasure, Scorpio constellation would definitely welcome a revival. But he never thought that it would be the Scorpio Magatama. Sima Zhao's soft brown hair was blown by the wind like a bird's nest. The wind on the roof of the carriage was strong, but he did not feel it. Beside him, Qiu Zhijun sat cross-legged. His shoulder-length hair was blown by the wind. His pale white face looked as though he had just recovered from a serious illness. But it was not only the armies that were fighting for their lives. Scorpio constellation was a constellation that established a dynasty, the final winner of the era of the 3 great armies. Although it had declined for a long time, but unlike Ophiuchus constellation, Scorpio constellation had never fallen from the ecliptic palace constellations. But in the bear egg that had more than 40% star power concentration, as long as one was not too lazy, it was not a big problem. That was also why the 12 ecliptic palaces far surpassed the other constellations. They had denser star power concentration and could attract more talented martial artists. The merging and devouring of spirit generals required many techniques and knowledge, just like blood meridian specialists, just that the refining spirit specialist was an occupation unique to the clan union. The few strongest alliance generals of the clan union all came from the hands of Master Kuei. Rongda's pupils constricted again. The old man was unfamiliar. He had never seen him before, but the name Master Kuei, he had heard of it before. Master Kuei, the most powerful refining spirit specialist in the clan union. Sima Zhao chuckled and spat out 4 words: Scorpio Magatama. But Rongda knew that Sima Zhao had always planned far ahead, and with such an order, he would definitely be prepared. And Master's character was decisive and firm. Once he gave the order, he would definitely not waver. When the 400 tons of Dragon Crystal Spirit Core ores were sent to the Mechanical Research Laboratory, the entire Mechanical Research Laboratory was like clockwork, immersing themselves in research day and night. In this period of time, the other constellations were not clear of the actual situation of Ursa Major constellation. Adding Tang Tian's Whirlpool Sword Spirit Tempering technique, it caused people to be even more fearful, and instead obtained a rare period of peace. If they did not grab hold of this period of time to raise their strength, then their future days would not be easy. Sima Zhao patted Rongda's broad shoulders and said, "Have you found the place?" Ta Dun's Andromeda army had also quietly arrived at the bear egg for special training. Placed in the pitiful 1% star power concentration of Lupus constellation, to raise true power by 2 levels, the expenditure and cost was undoubtedly astonishing. Suddenly, someone in the corner shouted, "Success! I did it!" Even Tang Yi's Lupus army was currently undergoing special training inside the bear egg. This was a problem that any military general with a bit of standard could see, but no one cared because no one believed that the war would develop to such a stage. The situation was already in chaos, the wind and rain were already wavering, and the future had become even more blurry. Kuei will definitely give it his all. Master Kuei's expression was solemn. He carefully took out a crystal test tube. Inside it was a ball of mist churning. "Master, please drip a drop of blood." Grabbing the sword beside him, He stood up without hesitation. He turned and left. Whirlpool sword spirit tempering technique. He, as expected of a godlike young man. This discovery caused all the mechanical engineers in the mechanical research laboratory to go completely crazy. Blood vessels covered his entire body, making him look like a human. Yi Zhao Gu slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were calm and deep, without a trace of hostility. The stubble on his face was extremely dense, his hair was messy, his entire body was mottled with scars, his clothes were tattered and tattered, but his entire body revealed a sense of tranquility. When this news came out, it caused an uproar, causing all the other news to pale in comparison, immediately attracting everyone's attention. Until today, when the Scorpio constellation's star power concentration suddenly soared by 7 points after an unknown period of time, he came back to his senses. The carriage's speed was very fast. 3 days later, they landed in the depths of a mountain. When Rongde received the mission, he was already filled with suspicions. The target of the mission was actually in the depths of Scorpio constellation. If their movements were to be exposed, it would immediately attract Scorpio constellation's intense retaliation. A skinny camel was still bigger than a horse, and the clan union's current strength was still inferior to Scorpio constellation, so Master would immediately be in a passive situation. Three Spirits City. The Scorpio Magatama was the sacred treasure of the Scorpio constellation. Only Bing, who had been through it all, was secretly making preparations. History was always shockingly similar. Bing looked at the image in front of him and leisurely puffed out a smoke ring and muttered to himself, "Scorpio, old opponent, getting more and more interesting." But Bing did not have any fear towards the 12 ecliptic palaces. The impact of this matter was huge. Even the Honorable Martial Alliance and Leo Constellation, who were in the midst of fighting, all chose to stop fighting. Master's target was actually Scorpio constellation. Everyone understood what that meant. There was only one possibility: the birth of the Saint Treasure. A new generation of mechanical spirit weapons was about to be born. Found it. Rongde led the way. After a moment, they arrived at a bottomless hole. The hole was shrouded in mist. Qiu Zhijun said with a bit of self-mockery, "A tempering spirit technique that swordsmen do not dare to use was actually used on a close-quarters combat expert." An intense joy surged in his heart. Qiu Zhijun's face could not help but reveal a rare smile. Once the step was completed, then the entire plan would be half a success. There were not many people in the 12 ecliptic palaces, and with the exorbitant usage of star power, ordinary people were unable to establish a foothold there. Rongde did not make a sound, and quietly brought his army into Scorpio constellation. Very quickly, he realized the Master's preparations were extremely ample, the Starry Door garrison was bribed, and the route they took was obviously meticulously prepared. They were all deep mountains and forests that were rarely visited by humans without any signs of human habitation, and on the way, they avoided the territories of a few strong star spirit beasts, so the entire army was close to their destination. When he pushed open the courtyard door, the martial artists who were waiting respectfully outside, upon seeing Yi Zhaogu, were stunned for a few seconds. Is this still the killing god, Yi Zhaogu? Filled with a tranquil aura, it made Yi Zhaogu feel as though he was a different person. They were like the tip of a pyramid, with the constellations below them sending talents upwards. The most outstanding martial artists, the best training environment. How could the 12 ecliptic palaces not be strong? The surrounding 13 strongholds have already been purged. No one was left alive, and no one else was alerted. Rongde replied straightforwardly. Tang Tian's whirlpool sword spirit tempering technique caused the star power concentration in bear eggs to directly break through 40%. Such an opportunity, no one was willing to miss it. Bing carefully analyzed the situation, and boldly transferred all the armies to bear eggs for special training. Good place. Master Kuei stood at the side of the cave and observed, and could not help but exclaim excitedly, "The grievance and death aura is so dense, there must be an extremely strong spirit general below." Heaven's road sank into an unprecedented silence. Everyone had forgotten about them for too long, but no one had forgotten that this was a constellation that had once established a dynasty, a constellation that had lost its saint treasure, but had not fallen from the 12 ecliptic palaces. It was a dangerous and terrifying constellation. Qiu Zhijun laughed, and just as he was about to close his eyes, suddenly a few black dots lit up in the distance. The 12 ecliptic palaces walked the path of elites. Once their experts were exhausted, it would be difficult to replenish them. In times of peace, they could still rely on their superior conditions to attract geniuses from other constellations. But in times of war, the flow of people between the various constellations would be strictly controlled, and at that time, the 12 ecliptic palaces would face the predicament of not having enough manpower. This was Scorpio constellation's territory. Master Kuei became even more excited. His face flushed red. Good place. Good place. A land of blood battles, saint-level spirit generals. There is no better place than this. Bang. The entire mechanical laboratory exploded. All of the mechanical engineers rushed over from all corners. Only at that moment did he understand Sima Zhao's ambition was much bigger than what he had imagined. Now it had awoken. Rhonda said solemnly, 22 people died. The generations of Scorpio martial artists had spent countless of effort to search everywhere, but to no avail. They did not care who became their king. What they cared about was they did not even have a king. The student army had already been disbanded, and the students once again returned to Sky Martial Wolf Academy. Towards the students, he had high hopes, and the battle was to let the students experience a real battle. Although their performance had improved greatly, but in Bing's eyes, they still needed to continue learning. But the students did not return to Lupus Constellation because Sky Martial Wolf Academy had moved from Lupus Constellation to Bear Egg. Yi Zhao Ji's gaze looked over, causing the martial artist to feel his entire body tighten. His heart actually did not have any thoughts of resisting, and could not help but be overwhelmed with shock. He knew how powerful it was, and fiercely bit the tip of his tongue. The pain caused him to sober up, ignoring the blood taste in his mouth. He lowered his head and spoke respectfully. "Emergency meeting. The clan elders hope that once Master comes out, you can immediately join the meeting." Master Kuei spoke about his own domain. His expression was solemn and confident. Sima Zhao's face revealed a look of praise. "You've worked hard. Victory is right in front of us. We cannot relax. Get everyone to raise their spirits. After we win, I will hold a celebration for everyone." The scout nimbly landed on the carriage, his expression excited. "Master, everything is going smoothly." The current generation of people did not have any concept of the chaotic world or the true heavens road great war. But Bing, who had survived the most bitter battles, was very clear on what was the most important. His gaze was as sharp as a sword, and with one look he could tell that it was his own scout. Vengeful spirit seal. No wonder no one could find it. Sima Zhao muttered. The martial artist felt the pressure around him disappear, and heaved a sigh of relief. Furthermore, he had stood his ground and pushed for the clan union's spirit general fusion technique, creating an army and a series of other measures, showing that he was a wise leader. Rhonda welcomed him. Rhonda's weathered face finally had a change. He looked at Sima Zhao in shock. He had always admired Sima Zhao. The master's foresight was profound. His methods were shrewd and ruthless. He was a frank person and was a good person to be loyal to. Sima Zhao quietly controlled the Sima family, quietly obtained the support of the majority of the clan elders, and secretly controlled the clan union. Yi Zhaogu replied, "Lead the way." But the clan union's composition was complicated, the organization was loose, with many families and factions. It had an inherent weakness. Rongda's judgment of Sima Shao was that he was a tyrant. Of course, Bing had always encouraged Tang Tian's torturous actions. To boost morale, all the martial artists that came to Bear Egg to train would be brought to Tang Tian, and the reason was to find happiness. Oh no, find motivation. Rongda blurted out, "What's inside?" Upon saying it, he immediately regretted it. The operation was extremely secretive. He knew that the master's plan was huge. If the outside world knew about it, it would definitely cause an uproar. For the sake of not leaking out, he did not leave a single person alive in the 13 strongholds. "Master Kuei, come and take a look." The battle after that did not have anything out of the ordinary. In front of the army, the strongholds were like defenseless, other than the fact that they did not expect the stronghold residents to retaliate so fiercely, resulting in a large number of casualties. The entire process of the battle could be said to be extremely smooth. Upon contact with the mist, the blood droplets started to churn intensely, countless of blood threads surged, and after a while the blood threads once again converged to form a thumb-sized human figure. He turned the test tube upside down, and the blood vessels inside dripped into the mist like a water droplet. This meant that as long as they succeeded, they would be able to create mechanical spirit weapons with growth attributes. He respectfully bowed towards the wooden hut. "I'm leaving." The Saint Treasure of Scorpio constellation, after 10,000 years, had once again established a connection with Scorpio constellation. Out of the few constellations under Tang Tian, Bing placed the most importance on the barren Lupus constellation, because Lupus constellation had an extremely large population. He had been rather free recently. With the collapse of the Scorpio dynasty, the Saint Treasure of Scorpio Magatama also disappeared, causing Scorpio constellation to fall. But no matter how much Scorpio constellation fell, it was still an ecliptic palace constellation. Many people had thought that Scorpio constellation would be like Ophiuchus constellation and fall from the ecliptic palace to the equator. But Scorpio constellation stubbornly defended itself as an ecliptic palace constellation. Chapter 450. He stopped and watched. The martial artist leading the way did not rush him and waited patiently at the side. The lady was shocked and angry at the same time, and was about to pounce towards Bing. The beautiful woman suddenly stopped. She was so angry that her entire body was trembling, but she knew that if she continued to struggle, her master would suffer even more humiliation. She allowed Duanmu to tie her up. Her gaze was filled with hatred as she gritted her teeth and said, "You will regret this." Then these two can be exchanged for quite a lot of ransom money. "Silei, how dare you?" The middle-aged man was both shocked and angry. Bing calmly gave the middle-aged man a few slaps. The middle-aged man's dignified face swelled up like a pig's head. The middle-aged man was so angry that his entire body was trembling. He had never experienced such humiliation before. Hearing that the mechanical spirit weapons were created by a mechanical grandmaster called Silei, and that Silei was a lady, Hua Chunyan's heart was filled with curiosity and anticipation. Oh, it was not a mechanical weapon, it was a mechanical spirit weapon. Bing laughed. "No worries, I know what I'm doing." Hua Chunyan looked around and secretly nodded his head. The scale of 3 spirits cities' base far exceeded his imagination. His gaze fell on the training field. "You are our master engineer. How many years has it been since we last had a master engineer? Hey, we're counting on you to make a lot of money for us. You actually dared to come in front of me and try to poach me. Hee hee." Bing's last coup was filled with killing intent. He walked in front of the two of them and blew smoke in their faces. Those who dared to do that in the past were all beaten up by me until they cried for their mothers. It was a pity that Crazy Tang was not here. Oh, what would he do? Oh, he will definitely hang you up. This uncultured guy likes this kind of thing the most. Not good, not good. I have to train him to pursue higher things. Pa! Bing flicked the cigarette ash and asked Sai Lei, do you want to do it personally? Sai Lei looked at Bing. Do you know who they are? Sai Lei's tone was bone-chilling. Make it clear whose elder you are. When I was 12, the year after my mother passed away, you expelled me from the family. I was penniless. If I hadn't met my teacher, I would have starved to death on the streets. What? Now, you're my elder? Who, a palm pierced through the lingering smoke and grabbed the middle-aged man. Sai Lei was actually a member of the Ivan family. Bing said leisurely to the middle-aged man, your subordinates do not pity you at all. Suddenly, he noticed a man and woman hanging at the center of the training ground, and he couldn't help but ask in surprise, that's... All right. Duan Mu hurriedly dragged the two of them and ran out. I'm serious, Sai Lei said solemnly. The Yifan family's power is much stronger than you think. They have a deep foundation in the spirit region. Duan Mu's figure flashed and blocked in front of the lady. Her aura suddenly dispersed, and the temperature in the room plummeted. A cold smile appeared on Sai Lei's face. It's definitely not a problem to exchange it for 1 billion or 800 million. Sai Lei sat down. We have completely offended the Yifan family. Do you know the nickname of the Yifan family in the Taurus constellation? The gangster family has always been unscrupulous in their revenge. TSK, a pig-like subordinate will drag down the master. Bing patted the middle-aged man's swollen face, his face full of sincerity. Bing laughed, even bigger than the Honorable Martial Alliance. The Ivan family won't let you off. The woman screamed. Silence. The room sank into silence. Ha! Little Sai Lei, in terms of gangsters, not many people can compare to us. Bing laughed out loud. Bing frivolously puffed out a smoke ring and winked at Sai Lei. He's a tyrant. Sai Lei's face turned gloomy. What are you doing here? Hua Chun Yun suddenly felt that the matter was not that simple. Yifan family. If he did not give her a few slaps today. The martial artist looked at the two people who were tied up, his gaze filled with unkindness. The two were tied up tightly, their faces red and swollen as they stood in the corner, as expected of a mechanical spirit weapon. Hua Chunyun quickly came to a conclusion. This brand new mechanical weapon was much stronger than the traditional mechanical weapons. The middle-aged man was enraged. You dare. Someone came to find them. The middle-aged man's expression froze. Sai Lei sneered. When I was 12 years old and was chased out of the family, I had already drawn the line with you. We don't welcome you here. You can scram now. This way, please. The martial artist leading the way said politely, of course, we have to take care of our little friend's feelings. Although we don't know about the conflict between you guys, but it is obvious that we are helping her. Bing laughed. She is our mechanical grandmaster. To let her vent her anger, her mood will be good, and her efficiency will be off the charts. Then we can earn money. Brother, it's not easy to earn money these days. Sai Lei was startled, then laughed. That's not true. Duanmu shuddered. The middle-aged man's face darkened. The beautiful lady behind him could not help but scold. Impudent! A slut who was chased out of the family dares to spout such nonsense. The haze on her face dissipated. That's right, no one cared about the Honorable Martial Alliance. So why would they care about that despicable family? The martial artist, leading the way, glanced at them and snorted, I heard that they are from the Yifan family, and said that they are Miss Sai Lei's elders. Humph! Miss Sai Lei is truly pitiful. She was chased out of the family at 12 years old, and almost starved to death. Now that Miss is rich, these dogs-hit things are shamelessly running over. Xiao Lei. The middle-aged man smiled, and placed the teacup in his hand down. Why? You don't recognize second uncle anymore? Sai Lei's anger gradually subsided. Noticing that Bing was staring at her weirdly for a long time, thinking about the poker face's loyal performance just now, she said unhappily, "Say what you want to say." "TSK, TSK. Hang it up, Sai Lei. Your taste is getting closer to crazy tang. As expected. This fellow is here to pull down everyone's taste." Bing touched his chin and teased. The middle-aged man was about 40 years old. His clothes were exquisite. He had an extraordinary bearing, minding his own business and drinking tea without a hint of uneasiness. The beautiful lady beside him was not to be underestimated. "Thank you for your concern." Bing bit on his cigarette and pretended to return the courtesy. Bing immediately lost interest and said lazily, "Only so little. Seems like these two people's positions are not that high. But no matter how small a mosquito is, it's still meat, so I'll just have to put up with it." "Hang them up," Sai Lei said fiercely. The middle-aged man's face turned green and red. After being humiliated again, he finally could not help but shout, "Sai Lei, the blood flowing in your body is ultimately the Yifan family's blood. It's fine if you don't think of giving birth, but to actually treat your elders like this sounds powerful." Bing's face was shocked. Sai Lei rushed in and roared, "Poker face, if you don't give me an explanation today, you're dead." Without thinking, Duan Mu's figure flashed and appeared beside the lady like a ghost. Their power is huge. Sai Lei bit her lips, feeling complicated. She knew that Bing was helping her vent her anger. "But, sire, why are you humiliating me like this? What is your intention? Why don't you say it?" The middle-aged man said. "Sire, isn't this too rash?" The middle-aged man said, "Although Sai Lei has some achievements in mechanical techniques, but the Han family's strength is ultimately not something a small mechanical engineer can compare to. If sire is willing to hand Sai Lei over to the Han family, the Han family will definitely give you a satisfactory reward." The beautiful lady's face revealed an arrogant look. The middle-aged man was much calmer, but he could not help but straighten his back. Bing noticed that the beautiful lady behind the middle-aged man had a look of disdain. "Oh, seems like it's getting interesting. Reason?" Bing looked at the middle-aged man with a look of admiration. "The reason is simple, to let Sai Lei vent her anger." "I don't know." Bing did not care. "Of course, it's not too late for you to say it now." "Oh, you want to talk about the consequences. Don't bother about such cliches. Obviously they are trying to poach you. TSK, TSK. It's already good that they did not chop them up and feed them to the dogs. If Crazy Tang was here, they would already be minced meat. I'm still too kind." Sai Lei suddenly shouted, "Duanmu!" She screamed, "You guys are crazy." The lady was so angry that she laughed. In her eyes, Sai Lei's position was extremely low to actually spout such arrogant words to slap her killing intent sword, and she was about to make a move. A resounding slap interrupted the middle-aged man's words. Sai Lei's face surfaced a smile and suddenly said, "Duanmu, slap her." The beautiful lady was shocked. Her attention was all on Duanmu. She never thought that the spirit general would suddenly make a move. Her master was captured, and she immediately fell into a passive situation. The two of them were stunned again. Suddenly they felt their bodies turning cold. Only then did they notice Bing's passionate gaze seemed to want to swallow them up. Under the bright lights, in the spacious training grounds, mechanical weapons could be seen everywhere training. I said, "Don't come and disturb me for this period of time. Don't tell me you guys disregarded my words." Sai Lei's roar came from outside the door. It was obvious that she was extremely unhappy and was on the verge of exploding. Her words stopped abruptly. He was a scheming person. After calming down from his anger, he immediately felt that Bing's sudden outburst most likely had a deeper meaning. In a fight between subordinates, people with a bit of status would not directly make a move. That was too lowly. Without saying a word, Duanmu knocked the two of them unconscious. He desperately prayed in his heart, "Please do not be implicated, please. I coincidentally had something to do in the spirit region." So I came to see you. Your father misses you and hopes that you can go back to visit him." The middle-aged man's smile was very amiable. Sai Lei said expressionlessly, "Taurus constellation's Ivan family, one of the Taurus constellation's oldest distinguished families. They are truly rich." He suddenly raised his head and looked at the beautiful lady in astonishment. "If the master is humiliated, the subject must die. How can you not do anything?" When Duan Mu heard the lady scolding Sai Lei, his heart was already filled with surprise. Did this lady's brain get caught in a door? She dared to scold big sister Sai Lei. This kind of courage is truly worthy of respect. Slap, slap, slap. The loud slaps interrupted her screams. When he heard big sister Sai Lei's words, he immediately quivered. After being in the base for so long, he had more or less grasped the temper of the few leaders. Big sister was angry. Duanmu quivered. Big sister. Bing bit on the cigarette. Through the lingering smoke, he quietly observed the man opposite him. Bing effortlessly dragged the middle-aged man over. He bit on the cigarette and slapped the middle-aged man's face. "Pa, pa, pa. A wise man submits to circumstances. To call you a brat at this time is truly not a good choice." Pa, pa, pa. A few more slaps, completely stunning the middle-aged man. Chapter 451. The bronze door slowly closed. If the constellation inheritance was the backbone of the martial technique system, then unique martial techniques were the pinnacle and extreme of the various branches. The constellation inheritance relied on the development of star power, which allowed them to have a deep foundation and allowed them to experience the perfection and development of generations of martial artists. In other words, the constellation inheritance was the product of group wisdom. Tang Tian, who was in the whirlpool of swords, screamed, but he secretly decided, no matter how difficult Big Brother Jinghao's request was, he had to complete it. Who's going first? Bing's gaze landed on the three of them. Bing was slightly nervous. In his era, the martial techniques system had not developed to its current stage. Unique martial techniques were extremely rare, and unique cards were even rarer, so they would not be wasted in the Spirit Hall. The Spirit Hall was only used for temporary replenishment, and was mostly used in battles. But when he saw Jinghao standing in front of him, he was still shocked. Suddenly, he thought of the rumors. The rumors said that since young, Jinghao had set his heart on creating his own sword technique, and from the looks of it, the rumors were probably true. Although Hua Qinyun's background was huge, but why would Bing place all his hopes on Hua Qinyun? Of course, he had other things to rely on, and that was the unique card in his hands. Senior wants me to be the reference. Jinghao somewhat understood. Me. Tang Yi took half a step forward. Jinghao praised, as expected of Senior Hunter. I heard that Senior is good at grooming students, and I have finally experienced it today. With such a good opportunity, Jinghao will naturally not miss it. When Adrian saw Jinghao, his heart trembled. Jinghao's aura was actually not released at all. Such extreme control made people speechless. Just based on this, it was not simple. Adrian said, "If I am not wrong, Mr. Jing's sword technique emphasizes on precision and control, and for the tens of thousands of chaotic auras, to cause them to resonate to Mr. Jing's precision and control, it is a very strict test. What do you need me to do?" Jinghao was very straightforward, but Tang Yi took the initiative to find Bing, and strongly requested to participate in the upgrade. Number 07 Army Barracks had been renovated, and the functions of the Spirit Hall had been completely restored, which made Bing even more confident. After an extraordinary person died, even his soul would not be willing to be ordinary. Adrian muttered, "I've been studying how to improve everyone's cultivation efficiency during this period of time. Mr. Jing must also know that this kind of situation couldn't last long." Currently, the star power concentration of the bear egg had reached a maximum of 43%. It would be a pity if he missed this opportunity. That's because I've thought of an idea that requires Mr. Arai's power. It sounds like your screams are full of energy. It seems like you're enjoying it. Jinghao laughed. All right, I'll wait for you here. Jinghao nodded. Out of the 10 unique cards from Draco Constellation, Han Bingning, Liang Qiu, Amauri, Sima Xiangshan, Duan Mu, and Qi Guang had one each, leaving him with 4. The unique cards were no longer useful to Tang Tian, Ling Su, and Crane had their own inheritances, and Jinghao was determined to create his own sword Dao. Constellations were always held in the hands of a few people, and the high-quality star power resources were usually controlled by a few people. But there were many martial artists in the world, and there were always some talented people, geniuses who were brimming with unique ideas, although they did not have the abundant star power as their foundation. But at the same time, they were not restricted. They wantonly displayed their talents, and in their hands, all sorts of inconceivable and amazing martial techniques were born. Adrian was well aware of the cruel competition within the Honorable Martial Alliance. To be able to be viewed as a genius young man, how could he not have a few tricks up his sleeve? They might be eccentric, ruthless, or gloomy, but the pride, persistence, and determination that they had when they were alive were similarly preserved. Upon placing the spirit card on the bronze door, the bronze door suddenly released a cloud of smoke. Inside the smoke, a ferocious and ruthless figure could be vaguely seen roaring, occasionally looking through the smoke, causing the 3 of them to be fearful. Jinghao turned his head and looked at Adrian in surprise. Adrian's reputation was rather good, especially in nurturing young people, and the other party was much older. Jinghao politely greeted, "Senior Hunter." Jinghao was taken aback. "Please guide me, Senior." But if he wanted them to improve further, he needed to use the unique card. He was also curious what would happen if he used the unique card to improve his spirit general. Such a genius, in any era, would be the most dazzling. Even the Constellation Masters with overflowing power, when faced with these extraordinary geniuses, had to restrain their arrogance and show respect. In front of the Spirit Hall's bronze door, other than Tang Yi and Tang Chou, there was also a suave and calm figure in a white robe, young Master Magic Flute. Magic Flute was rather curious the entire way. The Southern Cross Army was also very far away from his era. From the looks of it, everything was going smoothly, and all that was left was to wait patiently. The unique cards that these geniuses left behind, other than their astonishing martial techniques, they also left behind their martial spirits. Adrian heaved a sigh of relief. To cause such a widespread resonance, we need a reference object. Let everyone compare it at the same time. Jinghao immediately replied, "Mr. Hunter, if you have any instructions, please do not hesitate to speak." The remaining 4 cards were all in Bing's hands. Adding the unused Thunder Radiant Hammer, Bing had a total of 5 unique cards. "This foolish brother has a request," Jinghao continued. As expected of a unique card, Bing did not say anything. Out of the 3, Tang Yi's foundation was the worst, and the possibility of failure was the highest. The travel-worn Jinghao, upon seeing the gigantic bear egg, could not help but be in a trance. He finally came out, the current him, his chi was reserved, and looked like an ordinary person. But looking at Jinghao, his heart moved. "Mr. Jing." Jinghao listened carefully. Although Adrian was not his opponent in terms of attainments in sword techniques, but in terms of Adrian's standard in grooming martial artists, he was 18 streets ahead of Jinghao. Yaya saw Jinghao and obediently stopped beating the drum. For some reason, its heart was filled with reverence towards Jinghao. Adrian knew that Jinghao held a high position by Tang Tian's side, so he would not neglect him, and personally brought Jinghao to the center of the bear egg. Tang Tian, who was inside the whirlpool sword, had tears streaming down his face. As expected, Big Brother Jing, how is loyal? Resonance. Adrian explained. The concentration of martial artists in the bear egg is the highest I have ever seen. The entire bear egg can accommodate 520,000 martial artists to train at the same time. And in truth, this place has never been empty. In such a small area, to accommodate so many martial artists to train together, I realized that there is a very frequent energy resonance phenomenon. This rarely seen resonance phenomenon can raise the efficiency of true power training to a certain extent. Bear egg. This subordinate understands. Tang Ili landed on the ground and replied, without turning back. He entered the spirit hall. The miserable shrieks inside the whirlpool sword spirit tempering technique stopped and became even more mournful. A smile appeared on Adrian's face. Coming to Tang Tian's place to find happiness was already a daily occurrence for everyone in the bear egg. This was its advantage, but it was also a limitation because its development route was unable to go against the nature of the star power itself. The ferocious chi from the spirit general made Bing's face reveal a look of joy. Gradually, the spirit general in the mist struggled and became weaker. Threads of mist seeped into the bronze door, and the figure of the spirit general, with a speed visible to the naked eye, became weaker and fainter. He laughed involuntarily. This weird name attracted the ridicule of everyone inside and outside. But this was Crazy Tang's style. The hesitation on Bing's face disappeared. Since Tang Yi had already entered, then there was no way out. Out of the 5 unique spirit cards, he picked out the weakest one, which was a 1-star unique spirit general card. I'd like to hear the details. Jing Hao asked curiously. How to raise the efficiency of training was always the goal of every constellation and powerhouse. Adrian was famous for grooming students. When he said that he thought of a way to raise the efficiency, it was probably not empty words. The contrast between the two caused Jing Hao's reputation to be very different. Some felt that he was undeserving of his reputation. Some felt that he definitely had something special about him. He had a total of 5 unique spirit cards in his hands. Adrian had once seriously researched on Tang Tian, so of course he had some understanding of Jing Hao. For a very long time, Jing Hao's strength was not outstanding. Compared to Yi Zhaoge and the rest, he was still an honorable martial alliance's sword genius. Bing was quiet for a moment, then said, "Inside, I am most worried about you. If you want to continue to improve, you must have unique spirit cards. But if you fail, you'll be reduced to ashes." Looking at Adrian's back view as he left, Jing Hao turned to look at Tang Tian. "You and I are brothers. We are going to fight side by side again." Adrian admitted, "That's right. It was the whirlpool sword spirit tempering technique that gave me inspiration. But to Mr. Jing's training, it might be of help." Jing Hao's expression was sincere. "Brother, when the time comes, please shout louder. Please shout more miserably. I think no matter how difficult the situation is, as long as I think of your situation, I will definitely be filled with courage and definitely be able to complete this training." Originally, his name list did not include Tang Yi because Tang Yi's martial spirit was the weakest, the lowest level. Low-level martial spirits, the spirit generals that were produced, did not have much potential to improve. For Tang Yi to be able to reach his current level, it had already made Bing extremely surprised and surprised. Alive as an outstanding person, dead as a heroic spirit. That was a unique martial technique. Even Big Brother Jing Hao was like that. Is there no hope left in this world? Jing Hao stood in front of Tang Tian, looking at Tang Tian's 60 m thick whirlpool sword. He clicked his tongue in wonder. "I never thought that you would actually use a swordsman's method to temper your martial spirit, and such a tyrannical and extreme method." Adrian continued, "The stronger the energy resonance, the more helpful it is to the training of true power. This is what I am thinking. If everyone can resonate at the same time, then it will be of great help to the training of true power." Adrian nodded his head. "Then I will go and prepare." Adrian said calmly, I want to ask Mr. Jing for a favor. Sounds like it is somewhat similar to the whirlpool sword spirit tempering technique. Jinghao somewhat understood. Adrian replied solemnly, "That's right. The requirements for this position are extremely high. It requires an extremely strong willpower, extremely strong control over true power, and extremely sensitive to qi. The resonance produced by hundreds of thousands of people will be centered around you, and you will be the center of the storm." Chapter 452. He paused for a moment, then continued writing. Afiyuka's constellation is a broken-down gold-ranked martial artist. What can he do? Shweli said in disdain. He knew of Master Bing's opposition and knew of Master Bing's worries. The two of them were martial artists from the Yifan family. The lady was called Shweli, and the man was Jige. Their position was the closest to Three Spirits City, so they were sent by the family. Ga. Furthermore, Three Spirits City and Tang Tian of Ursa Major Constellation had an unclear relationship. The Battle of Ursa Major Constellation, the mechanical armies that appeared, were all directed at Three Spirits City because only Three Spirits City could manufacture and produce so many mechanical spirit weapons. The Yifan family was feared, and Tang Tian was not an ordinary person. "Is it Master Tang?" Someone probed, his gaze landing on the zanbato in Tang Yi's hand. Other than a few secret places, the majority of the base was open to him. Hua Chunyun was not stupid. He knew that the other party was displaying his strength, but it was enough to show the other party's confidence. "Hey, they have a gold-ranked martial artist called Qi Guang Wright, and another called Duan Mu is also very powerful." Jiga put on an act. "A lowly spirit, but I still want to fight alongside you." Three Spirits City Bronze Base. A master of a constellation actually dared to use the whirlpool sword spirit tempering technique. A person who was so cruel and ruthless to himself. How could he be provoked? Originally, the 10 equatorial palace halls had a few constellations that were ready to make a move, but because of Tang Tian's whirlpool sword spirit tempering technique, they did not dare to make a move. "I have already been bestowed with unparalleled power. I have already been bestowed with pride. My zanbato has already been sharpened like snow. How can I retreat? How can I dodge? How can I fear battle?" Hua Chunyun was filled with disdain towards Yifan's actions, and furthermore, the death of Sai Lei's mother was suspicious to him. He acted as though he did not know anything about the Yifan family, and he knew that the cooperation with the Bronze Base was directly related to the development of the higher-ups. Although the Yifan family was powerful, but on such a matter, the alliance would definitely not give in. A low reply came out through the lingering killing intent. Tang Yi, who was clad in armor, wielded his zanbato and turned to leave. All of the mechanical spirit weapons that were training in the training grounds stopped. There were no lights below the city gates, but the figure that was not considered tall or big attracted everyone's attention. The bronze door opened, and a majestic figure appeared in front of the three. He did not expect Sai Lei to become a mechanical grandmaster, so Ivan came to find him. In the current era, mechanical grandmaster engineers were extremely rare and top-notch talents. Furthermore, they were the ones who created the mechanical spirit weapons, the grandmaster engineers who led the ancient domain of mechanical techniques back to its former glory. Behind the lingering black mist, Tang Yi opened his eyes and ordered in a low and stern voice, "Open the door." Tang Yi paused for a moment. "Yes." The sound of the feathered armor passed through the passage, passed through the martial spirit palace, and entered the base. The people in the underground room all revealed astonished and awe-inspiring gazes. That thick killing intent, that Snow White San Medeo. But the current Ursa Major Constellation with the 4 constellations as one was definitely a tyrant with huge potential. This was destined to be an unfair battle. Even the strand of martial soul that was extracted was many times stronger than his. His martial spirit's grade was too low, and his starting point was too low. To him, this unfair battle was like him overestimating his own capabilities and digging his own grave. "Stop talking nonsense," Shweli said coldly. She stopped. He looked at Tang Yi in front of him, his emotions unable to calm down. Whoosh, whoosh. 07 Army Barracks, Spirit Chamber. Hua Chunyan was writing a report. In the current mechanical domain, Sai Lei's reputation was catching up to the ancient grandmasters. One man holding the pass, 10,000 cannot break through. Tang Yi acted as though he did not see anything. He raised his blade and walked up the stairs, walking up. The surrounding mechanical martial artists all revealed relieved expressions. The martial artist just now asked curiously, "Master Tang Yi, this is—" Beneath the 30 tall bronze door, a fierce general in armor stood with his blade, guarding the gate alone. Shweli snorted. "Negotiate? Very simple. Destroy the base and bring the little slut back. Master Gray's anger will naturally be appeased. I said before that I would bring them to soar in this era. I said before that I would bring them to leave behind achievements that will be passed down by others. I said before that I would lead the way and block in front of all of you." Tang Yi continued to walk forward without turning his head until he reached the big door and stopped. But to absorb 2 unique spirit cards consecutively, it was simply inconceivable. Bing still could not believe it. But he did not want to give up at all. The heavy and sturdy bronze door slowly opened. "How can I be left behind by all of you? How can I be of less and less help to all of you? How can I watch the enemy become stronger while my blade becomes duller and duller?" Behind the bronze door, the sound of the feathered armor colliding brought with it a desolate killing intent. Tang Yi, who was covered in armor, wielding the Zanbato, was like a fierce general that walked out from an ancient battlefield. His entire body of feathered armor had a reserved luster and could faintly see the battle scars. "I wonder what all those old fellows are thinking? It's just a mechanical engineer. Is it worth mobilizing so many people?" The man who spoke was frivolous. He had a head full of silver hair, carrying a gigantic broadsword on his back. It was rather eye-catching. 2 figures appeared in Three Spirits City. Tang Yi's Zanbato became even more simple and unadorned, the thick and black back of the blade. Only the blade edge was as bright as snow. The mechanical engineer in charge of controlling the city gate awoke from his daze and immediately opened the door in a flurry. Bing patted Tang Yi's shoulder and said solemnly, "Well done, Major." "Yes, Master." The Yifan family wanted to reap the benefits. At this time, if it were me, I would definitely not just be hung up. As for him, he was as insignificant as a blade of grass. And the Lupus Army, Major Tang Yi reporting for duty. As for the Yifan family, Hua Chunyan's mouth revealed a look of disdain. Jigu also mumbled, "That's right for such a trivial matter. You ran so far, you alone can completely settle it. You are wasting my time to pick up girls. No matter how lowly you were in the past, when you walked here with blood and injuries, you are destined to be extraordinary. I have to admit, the mechanical techniques here are far more outstanding than ours. Although I have not seen Grandmaster Sai Lei, but the standard displayed by the mechanical spirit weapons in the training grounds has reached an astonishing level. But what truly makes people wary is that they are grooming mechanical martial artists on a large scale. The mechanical techniques are gradually becoming the symbol of Three Spirits City, and the mechanical martial artists of the various constellations in Heaven's Road are all surging here like a tide. To participate in the training here, one has to pay a fee. Of course, the generous scholarships can ensure that the talented people can receive complete training. Batches after batches of mechanical martial artists, forming a complete system. They are like the reserves of an army, and when necessary, they can quickly join the enemy's army. The training that the students receive also has a strong style of the army, which makes me think of the once glorious Southern Cross Army. The Tang Tian who appeared out of nowhere was currently the fully deserving Bear King. Tang Tian was already the main research target of the various constellations in Heaven's Road, no matter how one looked at it. He was an extremely ruthless and decisive person. Tang Yi's entire body was shrouded with a seemingly solid killing intent. This killing intent was like a black mist. That pair of powerful eyes in the black mist was deep and reserved. His entire body did not have the slightest bit of spirit general aura. No one would have thought that he was actually a spirit general. 2 unique spirit cards. Tang Yi had absorbed 2 spirit general cards. Bing's emotions surged. He knew that it was not easy. Tang Yi's talent in his eyes had always been the lowest. Every step was extremely difficult. The clash between spirits did not have any fancy tricks. It was a direct clash of willpower, beliefs, and the weaker ones could only crumble and dissipate. He had specially spent some effort on Sai Lei's matter and found out the whole story, causing him to despise the Yifan family even more. Sai Lei's matter was not a secret. It was just that her mother's family had declined and passed away due to illness in the 2nd year, an even more prestigious new mother married in, and Sai Lei was chased out of the family. His enemy was once an outstanding person, a dazzling genius of that era, a person who had left his name in that era. Too impudent. The lady who spoke was roughly 30 years old, had a capable look, her gaze cold. When has our Yifan family ever suffered such humiliation? It was not easy to obtain a life. How can I let it go to waste? He patiently waited for the discussion to end. Under the bright lights, the clattering sounds of feathered armors passed through one training ground after another. The mechanical martial artists who were training all stopped. Now, Major, please guard the base. Anyone who dares to barge into the base will be killed on the spot. Their success in grooming echelons is admirable. On the training ground, I met an outstanding mechanical martial artist. He is extremely young, roughly 14 years old. He is one of the recipients of the base's scholarship. He is filled with anticipation for joining the mechanical army in the future. Not only him, his companions are the same. They are filled with yearning to join the mechanical army. There is a very important reason, because only by joining the mechanical army can they have the chance to control the latest model of mechanical spirit weapons. To mechanical martial artists, this is extremely attractive. The founder of the Bronze Base had a complete plan and completely followed the standard of a military fort. Bing, who was waiting outside the door, suddenly felt something. He suddenly opened his eyes, his face revealing a look of anticipation. After writing the report, he knew that this report was undoubtedly a big bomb, but the things he had seen and heard in this period of time gave him a strong impulse. A silent roar reverberated behind the bronze door. Tang Yi's entire body trembled. His face contorted sinisterly, the black mist seeping into his body. Although the spirit hall could extract the martial spirit from the spirit card, but it was unable to help him absorb it. Every time he absorbed a strand of the martial spirit, it was a cruel and bitter battle. Guard the base under orders. Voila! Bing's heart was extremely excited. The higher-ups want us to negotiate. Hey, how do we negotiate? Jigu waved his hand. They have already hung our people up. Hey, it's Master Gray, right? TSK. Master Gray has lost all his face this time. When the time comes, will he vent his anger on us? The two of them looked at the big door of the bronze base. A low voice, without anger, seemed to have some sort of strange power, causing people's hearts to tremble. It was rumored that a saint had died in his hands, but no one knew if it was true or not. Everyone's mind simultaneously surfaced the same word. Chapter 453. This blade-wielding martial artist is a freak. At that moment, Gigi's aura continued to rise. Shui Li's defeat caused him to squint his eyes, but at that moment, he was like an arrow on a bowstring. He had no choice but to release it, abandoning the distracting thoughts in his mind. He bellowed, the true power in his body surged to the maximum. His eyes red, like a bloodthirsty beast. He rushed towards Tang Yi. Shui Li's face was as white as paper, her heart overwhelmed with shock. She was extremely proud of her own light body technique, but she did not have the confidence to successfully escape from the terrifying blade aura. Unknowingly, I have arrived here. Unknowingly, I am so petty. I already have my own beliefs. I already have my own pride. The true power in his body surged, his entire body lighting up with a misty light aura. The broadsword on the ground had the densest light aura. His upper body did not move an inch. His steps were heavy and powerful, full of impact. With every step he took, his aura would rise. The rumors of killing a saint, the whirlpool sword spirit tempering technique, the awakening of Big Dipper, the submission of Draco Constellation. Throwing down that sentence, Tang Yi turned and returned to the door as though nothing had happened. He closed his eyes and stood there with his blade. When he was alive, he was petty and ordinary. He did not leave behind any traces, no matter how mediocre he was. He did not find anything that belonged to him. Unknowingly, I could no longer tolerate cowardice and cowardice. In a moment of desperation, she could not care about anything else. Her hair fluttering without any wind, suddenly curling up strangely like a steel wire, blocking in front of her. The mechanical engineers all scattered. Under Big Sister's tyrannical power, there was never anyone who could be arrogant. Ever since Hua Chenyun knew that Three Spirits City and Tang Tian's relationship was not ordinary, he had carefully gathered information on both sides. When he saw Tang Yi crossing the training grounds, he recognized him. A series of questions caused Hua Chenyun's mind to be in a mess. It could be seen that the mechanical martial artists were very familiar with Tang Yi. This familiarity was definitely not something that they had only met once or twice. In front of Scorpio Constellation, they were all dim, but Hua Chenyun, who had just witnessed the battle, knew that the information regarding Tang Yi's strength was a joke. Logically speaking, with so many pieces of information, they would definitely not make the same mistake. Tang Yi didn't have any protective feelings for the fairer sex. He tied Shui Li up tightly and gagged her. The unconscious Ajij was also tied up. Hang them together. Every step he took caused the ground to shake, and every step he took caused true power to burst forth. His imposing manner was terrifying, and with an indomitable determination, he brazenly rushed forward. I am already so strong. However, her expression froze in an instant. This base, what the hell is this place? Tang Yi calmly raised his saber to block. Godlike, young man, how many secrets are you hiding? She gritted her teeth as she said this. She didn't know why, but she felt relieved in her heart, and her nervousness decreased by a lot. Compared to facing this monster in front of him, accepting the clan's punishment didn't seem that scary. But following that, Hua Chenyun was shocked by Tang Yi's monstrous strength. Furthermore, this was greatly different from the information she had received. Although Tang Yi was different from the intelligence reports, his face and the Zamadeo in his hand were quite recognizable. I surrender. Shirley and Azig, who were outside the door, were stunned. She actually sped up again. Shirley's eyes flashed with a hint of pride. Her lightness skill was outstanding, and she could accelerate and turn at will in the air. Coupled with her polar breaking needle, which was hard to defend against, she rarely had a match. Hua Chenyun was stunned. He was shocked by his own bold idea. I don't know when, but I have such a strong desire. My God. Close the door. Ding. Unknowingly, it had become like this. The citizens of Three Spirits City subconsciously turned their heads. They saw an unforgettable scene. A terrifying blade aura was like a flood, sweeping through the entire Three Spirits City. Three Spirits City, which was filled with houses, was like a paper model that was split into two by the blade aura. The sword was held horizontally in front of him, like a spear, an astonishing sword aura blossoming from the sword blade. But Tang Tian's Lupus army was the most important army under Tang Tian's command, and Tang Yi had always been the target of careful research. Tang Yi's strength had long surfaced, although his poker face was wretched, but in crucial moments, he was still reliable. But he was definitely not a saint. Tang Tian's scheming. Was it really that deep? The battle just now was clearly seen in every training grounds. All of the numbered training grounds were dead silent. All of the mechanical spirit weapons were like metal statues, not moving at all. A light aura lit up in Tang Yi's eyes. The intense battle in front of him was extremely tense. A Ji's sword aura caused the air to distort, but his heart was as calm as water. Sai Lei, you are the strongest mechanical master. There is no one else. Is it you? It must be you, to make me, who was so ordinary, become like this. The relationship between Three Spirits City and Tang Tian was truly not ordinary. Polar breaking needle, that was one of her killing techniques. This sharp true power was extremely condensed and was 100 times harder than metal. It was indestructible. It was usually nourished in her meridians, immersing and tempering them day after day. Tang Yi, who had dragged the two of them in, spoke without turning his head. Hua Chunyun had also witnessed Tang Yi's blade and was dumbstruck. It was not that he had never seen such a powerful blade before. For those blade saints, if they were to release their strength, it would not be difficult for them to release such a destructive blade aura. She released her fist, her expression returning back to normal, as though nothing had happened. She stared at the surrounding mechanical masters who were watching the show. What are you looking at? Ah, you all still have the mood to watch the show? All of you pay attention. Whoever dares to drag me down. This great ant will let them know why the flowers are so red. I want them to come true. The sword blade rubbed against the ground, creating bright sparks. Xue Li looked at the terrifying and seemingly endless ravine in front of her in fear, her body trembling uncontrollably. A low and stern voice resonated in the entire Three Spirits City. Tang Yi, who was dragging the captive, the sound of his feathered armor in the dead silence was extremely clear. Xue Li's mind trembled, like a cat with its fur standing on end. She screamed. Leaping up, like a bolt of lightning, she pounced towards Tang Yi. Ji's heart trembled. With just one look, the killing intent was so dense, he had never seen it before. With the gigantic broadsword on his back, Ji's distracting thoughts disappeared. His expression was calm, dragging the sword on the ground. He took big steps forward. The light aura in Tang Yi's eyes exploded. The zanbato in his hand suddenly slashed downwards. Is it you guys? It must be you guys. That made me gather my courage, that made me cut through the thorns and sang loudly, that made my heart restless, that made me unwilling to die. All those beliefs, all those ambitions, all those longings were no longer unreachable, no longer buried deep in my heart. Sai Lei, who was meticulous, naturally noticed Tang Yi's change, and roughly guessed that it was the hard work of Tang Yi and the rest, causing her fists to clench tightly. Did Tang Yi intentionally hide his strength? Hua Chunyun gradually calmed down from the shock. He suddenly thought of another problem. The dagger struck the blade of the zanbato, and an extremely sharp, true power, like a steel needle, pierced into the zanbato. Since when did Master Tang Yi become so ferocious? Is he still human? No, Master is not a human. Saint rank? No, he did not have the aura of a saint rank, but if he was not a saint rank, How could he unleash such a shocking blade? Voila, did I see wrongly just now? I must have seen wrongly. Actually, I must have been blind. This move was soundless and extremely vicious. Countless enemies had died to this move of hers, and there was even a gold-ranked martial artist who died from the broken star needle. Could it be Tang Tian was the real master of Three Spirits City? The broken star needle was like a clay ox entering the sea. There was no response. The training ground behind him was in an uproar. Sai Lei, who had witnessed the battle from afar, heaved a sigh of relief. She had been worried about the Yifan family's revenge for the past few days. She knew how strong the Yifan family was, but Tang Yi's monstrous performance made her feel more at ease. Tang Yi flipped his wrist, and an unstoppable force suddenly exploded out, causing Shui Li to choke, as though she was an agile swallow that had crashed into a gigantic wave that could shatter steel. She threw the dagger in her hand. The mechanical engineers immediately controlled the door mechanism with pale white faces, but their hands were trembling. The broadsword in Gi's hand had completely disappeared, leaving behind only the sword hilt. He was lying in the deep ditch, his entire body covered in blood, unconscious. Monster! She groaned. She felt as though she had been struck by a gigantic beast. She flew back at an even faster speed than before, the blood in her body churning, her entire body about to fall apart. Kill! Heaven's Road's gaze was attracted to Scorpio constellation's sudden appearance of a saint treasure, and the topic of Ursa Major constellation quickly cooled down. A third-grade constellation, compared to a first-grade constellation, was simply negligible. Even the glorious history that Ursa Major constellation was proud of in front of Scorpio constellation was so poor that it was not even worth mentioning. Flipping his wrist and raising his blade, Tang Yi's Sanbado was already raised. Could it be that Tang Tian was underestimated again? His gaze pierced through the lingering killing intent, straight into the hearts of the two people. An indescribable sense of danger enveloped the two of them. Tang Yi looked at the two people hanging not far away. He did not know why the two of them were hanging, but he did not care and casually threw the two people who were tied up to the ground. In the air, a cold light flashed past Shui Li's eyes. Shua. Her figure suddenly became blurry and disappeared in the air. Her teeth were chattering, her calves and stomach were trembling, and what made her feel even more despair was that she was being locked down by the enemy's chi. She subconsciously turned to escape, but suddenly saw that unknowingly the armored monster had once again raised his blade, and it was aimed at her. The heavy bronze door slowly opened. A martial artist clad in armor and wielding a blade stood behind the door. Everyone is working hard for you, fighting for you. Sai Lei, you have to do better. But why? Why is it exposed now? What are their intentions? Everything in front of the torrent of blade auras disappeared, other than Ji Gu, a straight and wide ditch, extended all the way to the end of Three Spirits City. Sai Lei returned to her own experiment table, the fighting intent in her heart surging, shouting silently in her heart. Chapter 454. Very quickly, a new batch of martial artists entered and sat down. Hua Chunyun looked at the time and was somewhat helpless. The clan elders clearly said that they would be arriving at this time. All the important people liked to be late. The breathing sounds of the 500,000 people converged into one, rumbling like thunder. Everyone was drenched in sweat. This brand new training method required everyone to maintain a high degree of concentration in a short period of time. Senior Zhao's words make us juniors blush with shame. Please come in. Bing immediately said. As expected of the Hunter Principal of Orion Constellation's #1 Academy, the standard of grooming martial artists was top-notch. He was slightly bored, and also felt that the silence was too awkward, so he took the initiative to speak and pretended to be chatting. General Tang Do you need to personally stand guard here? Just at that moment, a group of people entered his vision. The group of people were walking towards him. As the host and the guests sat down, everyone exchanged some pleasantries. And Elder Xiao went straight to the point. This time, I am here to seek help from your side. They were ignored. The group of people chatted and laughed as they walked into the base. The bustling training grounds of the base immediately attracted everyone's attention. Bing saw that everyone was interested and knew that it was a big deal, so he also did his best to explain. Not far from Jing Hao, Xiu's face was pale white, his entire body perspiring. His role was to support Jing Hao and was equivalent to an assistant, although the majority of the pressure was on Jing Hao. But 520,000 people, even 10% of the pressure, to him was an extremely severe test. He was truly an Iron Man. The stern elder squeezed out a smile. Such a fierce general, truly dauntless and unparalleled. No wonder the godlike young man was invincible and seized Ursa major constellation. At the start, the Andromeda martial artists and Sky Dragon martial artists were grumbling and grumbling, which was a clear contrast to the Lupus martial artists. Adrian immediately moved the grumbling martial artists to the back, and immediately the martial artists of the two constellations shut their mouths. And after that, the Lupus martial artists displayed perseverance and astonishing obedience, gave the martial artists of the two constellations an immense pressure, adding that the families behind the martial artists gave severe warnings to those who performed badly. The entire Bear Eggs training atmosphere was good, something Adrian had never seen before. From the corner of his eyes, Tang Yi had already raised his terrifying zanbato. Disdain appeared on the faces of Elder Zhao's entourage. Although this kind of stupid thing happened occasionally in big families, being caught and hung up was a big loss of face. The torrent of blade auras suddenly burst out. The dazzling blade auras instantly covered his entire vision. Hua Chunyun's mind was blank. He hugged his head with his hands. He could not believe his eyes. The burly man who continuously blocked Tang Yi's attack moved to the side, making way for the elder behind him. He glanced at Tang Yi with a serious expression, his heart secretly shivering. Tang Yi's blade stopped in midair. What a powerful saber aura, synchronization, rate 72%. Adrian's voice was very calm. My training efficiency has increased by about 8%. Very good. When the blade aura dissipated, Hua Chunyun suddenly quivered. He could no longer care about the clan elders and immediately rushed to Tang Yi and roared, "Guest! We are guests!" Jing Hao looked as if he had just been fished out of the water. He couldn't hide the fatigue on his face, but his eyes were abnormally bright, like stars. The faces of the 4 people on the pole were flushed with shame. "Oh no! Tang Yi, don't be rude." Bing's voice came out from behind. Hua Chunyun suddenly realized something was wrong. The hand that was originally holding onto the blade was already holding onto the hilt. In a moment, Tang Yi turned from a silent statue to a wild beast ready to pounce. Everyone's footsteps became sluggish and subconsciously stopped. They raised their heads to look at the 4 people on the pole. At that moment, there was an awkward silence. Hua Chunyun was quiet for a while and could not help but speak up again. General Tang Yi's day was truly shocking. I never thought that not only was General Tang an outstanding military general, his blade techniques were also so powerful. Xiu glanced at Jing Hao, his heart filled with admiration. The pressure that Jing Hao had to endure was much more than him. Every time he finished training, Jing Hao would be pulled out of the water. But from the start to the end, his expression did not change. Jing Hao had already recovered and was once again full of energy. Adrian looked at Xiu, and Xiu's face became solemn. Adrian had also seen Xiu's improvement. Hua Chunyun held his breath as he turned his stiff neck. When he saw the deep ravine that extended all the way to the feet of a big-sized man, his entire being relaxed. In that moment, it was as though he had gone from hell to heaven. Oh, these are the 4 pig heads of the Yifan family. This thought flashed through Adrian's mind, and he immediately burst into laughter. Tang Tian had already endured for 16 days. Normally, the whirlpool sword spirit tempering technique could last for 30 days and above, and rarely exceeded 50 days. Tang Tian could possibly last even shorter because the whirlpool sword spirit around him was unprecedentedly thick. In other words, the intensity of his tempering was unprecedented, and he could possibly complete the tempering of his martial spirit earlier. Even the participating martial artists could only be chanced upon and not sought after. Jinghao's performance greatly encouraged Xiao, who clenched his teeth and persevered. Master Bing is too humble, the cold-faced elder said. 3 Spirit Cities' mechanical techniques are unparalleled in Heaven's Road. This time, we are here with the attitude of learning. I hope that Master Bing, Grandmaster Sai Lei, will not be stingy with your guidance. Tang Yi straightforwardly kept his blade and moved to the side. The effect of training had increased by 8%. Jinghao secretly nodded his head. Such an increase was extremely powerful. But it was a pity. Such an increase did not have the possibility of a general increase. Without Tang Tian's whirlpool sword spirit tempering technique, it was impossible to form such a dense star power region. And without Jinghao holding down the fort, it was also impossible to achieve. Is it the Yifan family of the Taurus constellation? Elder Xiao asked thoughtfully. Bear egg. Ah, that's right. Bing scratched his chin, admiring for a moment. He laughed. I heard that the Yifan family is extremely wealthy. I wonder how many star coins these 4 people can be exchanged for. This is a reaction training. The goal is to raise the familiarity of the martial artists towards the mechanical spirit weapons. Mechanical spirit weapons are completely different from the previous mechanical weapons. A mechanical spirit weapon can be understood as a brand new body. It has its own martial spirit. And the most important thing for a mechanical martial artist is to increase the ability to communicate with the martial spirit, and the martial spirit of the mechanical spirit weapon also needs to grow. Hua Chenyun guarded the door, with Tang Yi leaning on his blade not far away. Tang Yi acted as though he did not see him, not saying a word, and remained silent. But Hua Chenyun could feel a formless pressure. The killing intent lingering around Tang Yi made him suspect that Tang Yi would explode with his blade and chop him up. After the tour ended, Bing brought everyone to the Great Hall for tea and rest. Bing laughed modestly. Ursa Major Constellation is such a rural place. In front of everyone, it is truly a joke. Libra Constellation, the heart of all craftsmen, is the pilgrimage ground for all craftsmen in Heaven's Road. If the synchronization rate can reach 90% and above, the training efficiency should increase by around 15%. Adrian's calm tone was filled with anticipation to increase the training efficiency. It was a difficult problem in the world, and to take out 15%, it was definitely a dazzling result. And most probably only organizations like the 12 Ecliptic Palaces and the Honorable Martial Alliance Onyx Soul had higher-level methods. Clan Elder Shao looked at Bing and smiled. For Bing to be able to say out his identity, it meant that he was already prepared, but that was exactly what he wanted. Tang Yi looked like he was asleep. I am truly curious, what will Tang Tian's martial spirit be like after it is completely tempered? Hua Chenyun was startled, but immediately reacted. His face changed, and he exclaimed out loud, "Wait!" Clan Elder Shao laughed. Although the Yifan family was strong, but it was not to the point where he feared them. The group continued to move forward and continued to tour the base. Hua Chenyun quietly looked at Tang. All right, I am truly bored to death. Adrian calmed himself down, and threw all the distracting thoughts to the back of his head, and bellowed, "Begin!" He continued to be ignored. Tang Yi acted as though he did not hear anything, and did not even bat an eyelid. Every time was torture, but Xiu clenched his teeth and endured. He knew it was a test of willpower and temperament, and if he could endure it, his strength would definitely soar. Teacher had given him such an important position, it meant that he trusted him, and also had the intention to groom him. Bing brought a group of people, and toured the entire base once, spending a full 2 hours before it ended. In the entire process, Clan Elder Zhao's eyes were filled with splendor. Bang! The dazzling blade, aura, once again completely occupied his vision. Hua Chunyun, who had just relaxed, suddenly froze. His hands that were hugging his head froze, his expression froze, and his thoughts froze. This type of training is to raise the mechanical martial artist's sprinting ability. The mechanical spirit weapons flight relies on the power of the mechanism itself, and not light body techniques. On how to use the power of the mechanism requires systematic training. Just a step away from the saint level, such a strong spirit general is truly inconceivable. Although his method was good, but the intensity was too high. Every training required him to give it his all, and it was in such an extreme training environment. None of the lupus martial artists actually complained, and just quietly trained. Recently, there have been many troubles, and my subordinates are overly anxious. I am truly sorry for the misunderstanding just now. I am Bing. Welcome, everyone. Bing bowed and apologized. Tang Tian's whirlpool sword spirit tempering technique needs to be sustained for a period of time. Huh? Hua Chen-yin did not know when he regained his senses, but when he regained his senses, the blade aura had already dissipated, and a deep and straight ravine extended from Tang Yi's feet to, regardless of whether it was Tang Tian or Jing Hao or the other martial artists, they were all praiseworthy, all of them gathered together. Only then could there be such a situation. The martial artists on the ropes all stood up and left in an orderly manner. Jing Hao closed his eyes to rest, recovering his physical strength, and grasping for the next round of training. The truth proved that Adrian's method was extremely effective. He could feel his own true power and control had an obvious increase. Taking advantage of this time, Hua Chunyun quickly explained the grievances between the Yifan family and Sai Lei. Is there finally a reaction? Hua Chunyun heaved a sigh of relief. He raised his head and looked at Tang Yi. Suddenly, Tang Yi opened his eyes. Chapter 455. Remember, I do not only have you as my only son. No choice. The basic price is not cheap. We spent a lot of effort in the past. Of course, the most important thing is in the entire Heaven's Road, there are no other branches. Three Spirits City has become the crux of the entire strategy. Look at my sincerity. I am already so old. My mouth is already dry. Just give me a number. Dao Dun's face turned gloomy. He said, You are my son, but no one can stand above the Yifan family. You were bewitched by that woman in the past. I will not pursue your wrongdoings. But you have to go to Sai Lei and beg for forgiveness. There is no room for discussion. If you can't do it, I will chase you out of the family. In this period of time, the higher-ups of the Grandmaster Association had been thinking and worrying about how to protect themselves. The inheritance of Libra constellation was proficient in fine control, which led to their usage and research of martial techniques, leaning towards living. And in terms of fighting martial techniques, there was nothing to write home about. The middle-aged man mumbled. It's just Ursa Major Constellation. Mechanical armies were undoubtedly the most suitable fighting units for Libra Constellation because their technical requirements were the highest. Libra Constellation had a mechanical grandmaster, and more importantly, Libra Constellation's various industries and techniques were extremely robust Once they completed a breakthrough in their basic mechanical spirit weapons with their technical reserves, they could quickly break through. Both parties exchanged blows and very quickly came to an agreement. A resounding slap to the face. His mind suddenly surfaced the lonely little girl when she left the Yifan family, that pair of stubborn eyes. It was done by Madame Chu Shi, the old man said. Sai Lei's mother's corpse had a slow-acting poison. It was the green vine that the Chu family released in the past 2 years. From the looks of it, the green vine should have just been completed. In the past, Mo Wei Tian, that old profiteer, sold a broken one for 20 million, and Bing felt that selling it for 80 million was a good thing. Yi family patriarch Dao Dun Yifan's face was flushed red. He was so angry that his entire body was trembling. You want the mechanical spirit weapon technology? If it's too powerful, we can't sell it to you, but the basics are not a problem. From Lupus constellation to Andromeda constellation, from Andromeda constellation to Ursa major constellation, everyone knew he was a thorn. You're so good at leading soldiers and doing business. You have a bright future. Since you've said so, I can only accept it. I heard that your army has already been disbanded. Why don't you pack up all the mechanical spirit weapons and sell them to me? Although I, the great Libra, am not as rich as the Aquarius gold, but I am definitely more than that. He had followed the old master for dozens of years, so he understood this seemingly random sentence. If Sai Lei forgave her father, this matter would naturally be sealed. If Sai Lei did not, then young Master He Shi and Madame Chu Shi basic, that's fine too. My great Libra doesn't have a lot of things, but it does have a lot of masters. If I can get a good grasp of the basics, I'll become more profound in the blink of an eye. At that time, it's hard to say who's more profound. If not, to wait for them to introduce their own mechanical weapons and then start training, it would be too late. But Libra constellation was the most open-minded constellation in the 12 ecliptic palaces. Regardless of what theories were there, they would not be viewed as heresy, and many of Onyx Soul's grandmasters liked to live in seclusion in Libra constellation. There were many grandmasters in the Grandmaster Association, although their attainments in the mechanical domain were limited, but they had a deep understanding of technology and the changes in the world. He better think clearly. Dao Dun's tone was cold. I will not let him drag everyone down with him. Have you investigated the matter that year? You must have evidence. When the middle-aged man left dejectedly, an old man appeared like a ghost. He sighed. Old master. Young Master He is just muddled for a moment. He will think clearly. For some reason, his heart felt a chill. Libra constellation, one of the 12 ecliptic palaces. But it was not as declining as Scorpio constellation, nor as prosperous as Leo constellation. It had always been a middle constellation in the 12 ecliptic palaces, neither high nor low. It was because of this good atmosphere that Libra constellation became the constellation with the most craftsmen and had all sorts of martial artists there. There were many associations in Libra constellation, the Craftsman Association, the Martial Artist Association, etc. But the most powerful one was none other than the Grandmaster Association. Almost 80% of the core associations in Libra constellation were all under the Grandmaster Association. Yifan's family, just Ursa major constellation. Dao Dun was so angry that he laughed. The Libra constellation's Grandmaster Association is so stupid to spend around 500 billion to buy those trash. Let me tell you, they are expressing their goodwill to Tang Tian, the Ursa major constellation that you look down on. They are thinking of ways to befriend you. Let me tell you now, this matter, if you do not settle it, I will raise a suggestion to the clan elder to hold you accountable. Mo Lung lived in seclusion, concentrating on tinkering with his own mechanical weapons. Sky Martial Wolf Academy had a total of 5,600 sets of mechanical spirit weapons. Each set was sold to the Grandmaster Association for 80 million star coins, for a total of 448 billion. How stupid is the Fan family? Just at this time, the mechanical army appeared in their vision, immediately attracting their attention. The fundamental mechanical spirit weapon technology was sold to the Grandmaster Association for 20 billion star coins. Both parties were satisfied. Jealousy is truly a sin. Dao Dun seemed to be sighing. After a moment, he suddenly sneered. Only forgiveness can save. The little girl did not cry. Bing was naturally satisfied, especially the 5,600 sets of used mechanical spirit weapons to be able to be sold for 448 billion. His heart was blooming with joy. Sai Lei's new model had already started to take shape, and the change of equipment was already on the agenda. He had originally planned to use these old mechanical spirit weapons for the reserve force training, but he did not expect to directly sell them. The Grandmaster Association's entry requirements were extremely strict, and only the top talents of each profession had the chance to enter. But the Grandmasters were usually immersed in their own research and were not interested in other matters, so the association arranged for many elders. These elders were in charge of the daily work and had profound attainments in techniques, so they held great authority in the association. Many of the elders were sharp enough to realize that the combination of the martial spirit and mechanical weapons had given the ancient and declining techniques a new pair of wings, and its future potential was huge. And the knowledgeable elders were filled with worry for the chaotic world. Could Libra constellation still maintain its neutrality in the chaotic world? Even if they joined a faction, how could they protect their own benefits? Libra constellation that only had techniques in front of blades and spears was just a plump milk cow. Although there were no rivers of blood, no massacres, but they were definitely not benevolent, Mr. Goodfellas. Lawless and out of control, vengeful, with just a word of disagreement. They would fight if they wanted to stretch their hands into his bowl. He would definitely raise his blade and not let them off. That won't do. We still have to train. We still have to prepare for war. We still have to... In a short few hours, a huge contract with a total value of 468 billion star coins was formed. The Grandmaster Association hoped to directly bring 3 Spirits City into the association, but as the information continued to be perfected and the Tang Tian backing 3 Spirits City surfaced, the higher-ups very rationally threw that idea away. The 12 Ecliptic Palace's armies were indeed stronger. Their martial artists were stronger, but all of this strength was only on paper. How many years had it been since their military generals had fought a battle? The only thing that could be considered as a real battle was suppressing bandits. Their strength on paper was indeed not strong, but they were like a hurricane, defeating one army after another. The news of Libra Constellation's Grandmaster Association cooperating with 3 Spirits City quickly spread, and Guan GMO went to Libra Constellation to conduct his own research there. But although Guan GMO was a mechanical grandmaster, but in the Grandmaster Association his position was not high, and that was because of the decline of mechanical techniques. Although Ursa Major Constellation was only a 3rd-grade constellation, but Tang Tian was not someone to be trifled with. In the past, to be able to obtain victory after victory in the battlefield, there was only this young lad Tang, who acted dumb on the surface, but was actually a scheming person. The middle-aged man covered his face, dumbstruck. Young lad Tang's reputation was completely built from fighting and killing. Both sides immediately started to negotiate amicably. The middle-aged man was stunned. He did not dare believe his own ears, and only reacted after a while, and screamed, "You're crazy! I am your son. You." And Elder Shao was extremely satisfied, although 468 billion seemed to be a huge loss for them. But the war was nearing, and to them, the most important thing was not star coins, but time. All these second-hand mechanical spirit weapons, Not only could they be used as research targets, they could also allow them to immediately organize mechanical martial artists to start training. In front of him, a middle-aged man drooped his head, looking dispirited. Elder Shao was one of them, and the grandmasters he was in charge of included the mechanical grandmaster Guanji Mo. Before Sai Lei obtained the title of grandmaster, there were two publicly acknowledged grandmasters in the mechanical world, and they were the Mo families Mo Lung and Guanji Mo. The old man's heart turned cold. Do you know who the master of Three Spirits City is? It's that lunatic Tang Tian, the lunatic who used the whirlpool sword spirit tempering technique on me, that lunatic who would go up and bite you for no reason, and you still dare to provoke him? He does not even give face to Onyx Soul in the Honorable Martial Alliance. Who do you think you are? Dao Dun scolded. Dao Dun's words were cold without any warmth, causing the middle-aged man to feel as though he had fallen into an ice cellar. Libra Constellation, who had straightened his attitude, became extremely courteous. Cooperation. Everyone is cooperating. You name a price, I'll buy it. If I can buy it with money, why fight and kill? Especially the meeting between Sai Lei, Mo Lung, and Guanji Mo, the three mechanical grandmaster, made all the mechanical enthusiasts extremely excited. It was the first meeting between the three mechanical grandmaster, and in the eyes of the mechanical enthusiasts, it was the symbol of the revival of mechanical techniques. The middle-aged man was completely dumbstruck. Sai Lei's creation of the mechanical spirit weapons did not cause any waves in Libra Constellation until the Battle of Ursa Major Constellation, where the mechanical army performed outstandingly, causing the mechanical techniques to become extremely popular, and Guanji Mo's position quickly rose. Are you a pig? How can you be so stupid? Now the entire Heaven's Road is laughing at us. Even the stingiest old man Gu is King laughing at us. Why didn't you investigate first? Why didn't you ask the clan elder for instructions for such a huge matter? Chapter 456. Tang Yi didn't mind. He was a general. He just needed to lead his troops and fight. The Blue Whale Army had 3,000 men, while the Lupus Army only had 200 men. The disparity in strength between both parties was obvious. If not for the army undergoing the special training at the Bear Egg, causing all of their true power to break through to the 7th level, the Lupus Army's strength would have increased tremendously. This sudden news immediately disrupted all of Bing's arrangements, and he rushed back to Ursa Major Constellation overnight. Upon returning to Ursa Major Constellation, he knew that the situation was much worse than he had imagined. If not for the fact that the road leading to the Southern Cross constellation was already in a state of war, Tang Tian would not even have the interest to stay here. Master Bing did not have much interest in Ursa Major Constellation. To Master Bing, Ursa Major Constellation was just a temporary training camp. The reason why it was temporary was because Master Bing felt that Ursa Major Constellation's star power concentration was not high enough. He knew that his own standards could not be compared to Tang Yi. Of course not. Tang Yi did not enter the city. His army was a cavalry, and the city was not suitable for them. Moreover, the people of this city did not welcome them. In the blink of an eye, the famous Ursa Major Constellation had sunk into an unprecedented crisis. The flames of war rose in all directions, and the city was in imminent danger. Overall, the results are pretty good. The ones with the best results were the Lupus martial artists, because their average level of true power was very low, around the 5th level. After this period of special training, their true power level had generally increased by 1.5 levels, and there were a few Lupus martial artists who were originally at the 6th level with decent talent, and were now at the 7th level. If they could complete the special training, some of them might even be able to break through to the 8th order. Adrian's tone was full of regret because of the collaboration with the Grandmaster Association, Mo Wei Tian was determined to move his entire family into Three Spirits City. The situation around the Mo family's residence was not safe. There were already many unknown martial artists appearing. But to make this decision, Mo Wei Tian mustered up enough courage. This meant that the Mo family had completely joined Tang Tian's system and was no longer an independent entity. Ta Dun replied, "Most of them have reached the Type 8 level, but about 30% of them are still stuck at the Type 7 level." At this crucial moment, a battle report made Bing rush back to Ursa Major constellation. Bing was satisfied. He had obtained the information he wanted. The reason why he dared to pull all the armies back for special training and dared to sell all 5,600 mechanical spirit weapons was naturally because he had something to rely on. Others only thought that he was blinded by greed, but they didn't know that for someone like him who had an instinctive desire for war, how could he not have a trump card? After a while, a lupus tribe elder stammered, "Will this work?" As for Tang Tian and the others, the longer they could hold on, the more advantages they would have. "Of course, you're courting death if you rob them in front of them. What shall we do?" No matter how strong they were still humans. They would get tired too. That would be our chance. If there's a chance, we'll stab them twice. If there's no chance, we'll just howl at the side. If they chase after us, we'll run. It's simple. Bing said calmly. The Blue Whale Army could not do anything to Tang Yi's lupus army. The army came and went like the wind, and the Blue Whale Army did not have mounts, and could not catch up. What was worse was that the lupus army could conceal themselves, and their attacks were sharp and incisive. If they sent too few people, they would be swallowed by the enemy. Bing's trump card was the 1 million lupus martial artists. The 3 saints of Cetus constellation suddenly disappeared. Humans have to think of a way. There's a tactic in the art of war called fortify the walls and clear the fields. We are going to Bandit Poison Field. Bing's poker face smiled, his finger drawing a big circle on the star map. "Oh, Bandit Poison Field is too small. It's boring if we want to play. We'll play it big." Bing scoffed. "Of course, we can't go head-to-head with the 3 Fish Army. They are still very powerful." As for the Plateau Army of Andromeda constellation, what was the use of a 4th-grade army? Bing said boldly, "Positional warfare? Such a tactic that doesn't require any technique. Why would we do it? We'll do what we do, rob. Go and greet them properly." Only he could bring the Sky Marshal Wolf Academy's mechanical spirit weapons to Three Spirits City, 5,600 mechanical spirit weapons. Even if he used the Silver Aquarius cabinet, Bing would still be exhausted. The opponent came prepared. Bing acted as though he did not hear anything, coughed lightly, and said, "As for us, the most important thing is to stall for time. Since we are stalling for time, then that's easy. Other than being cannon fodder in the battlefield, what other abilities do we have? Bandits, oh my, 1 million bandits, and it's 1 million lupus bandits that have reached the 6th level and awakened their blood meridians. North Peace City. With the addition of the Mo family, Sai Lei's new model had improved by leaps and bounds. Bing's face was all smiles. So Tang Yi was indifferent towards Cetus constellation occupying North Peace City. The one occupying North Peace City was the Cetus constellation's Blue Whale Army. Ursa Major constellation had 3 armies: White Whale, Black Whale, and Blue Whale Army. The Blue Whale Army was the weakest out of the 3 armies, but even this army had more people than the Lupus Army. The elders of the Lupus Army looked at each other. All of them were frightened by Bing's suggestion. His heart was filled with worry. The Plateau Army soldiers had an average standard of the 7th level, but for an army like Cetus constellation, their soldiers had an average standard of the 8th level. That was a huge gap, although true power could not directly determine strength, but the difference between the 2 parties could be seen. Everyone then understood Bing's idea, and all of their eyes lit up although it was a wretched idea. But to stall for time, it was not bad. Tang Yi had been promoted to a major, and his command had suddenly increased to 2,500 men. And Three Spirits City had Magic Flute holding the fort, so Bing brought Tang Yi back to Ursa Major Constellation and prepared to expand the Lupus army. Just like what he thought, the White Whale Army and Black Whale Army were irresistible and attacked the city. North Peace City was once one of the important cities of Ursa Major Constellation. The concentration of star power there was extremely good, and thus produced martial artists, and a few King Bear martial artists came from North Peace City. But Yen Yonglai's final mobilization caused all the martial artists in the city to enter Orion Constellation. The current North Peace City was desolate, and was no longer as flourishing as before. Imminent danger. Bing sneered. He stood up. Under the stimulation of money, Bing erupted with limitless potential, and finally completed the delivery of all the mechanical spirit weapons. Tang Yi was chased back to Ursa Major Constellation to prepare for the expansion of the Lupus army. With the money, Tang Cho immediately started his strategy for Fornax Constellation and started to continuously choose outstanding mechanical martial artists to join his army. Yen Yonglai's imprint on Ursa Major Constellation could not be erased in a short period of time. Long Shou Jing's face revealed a look of shame. He knew that in a battle, 3 saints could form a destructive force. The sudden disappearance of the 3 saints was like a dagger hidden in the darkness that could deliver a fatal blow at any time. Bear Egg's special training was interrupted, and Bing listened to Adrian's summary report. Everyone's faces turned white, and they trembled in fear. Cetus Constellation had launched an attack on Ursa Major Constellation. Ling Su looked at Bing and corrected, "Whales are not fishes." Even the opponent, Bing secretly praised Cetus Constellation's choice of time. Tang Tian's whirlpool sword spirit tempering technique had not ended, and regarding the special training at Bear Egg, the opponent must have already found out about it, and it was undoubtedly the best opportunity. The mechanical army's equipment were all sold to Libra Constellation, and the students of the Sky Wolf Martial Academy were basically unable to fight. Mo Wei Tian was clear. Compared to working together, the Grandmaster Association's resources were obviously richer, and their strength was many times stronger. If it was like before, the Mo family's usefulness to Three Spirit City would decrease, and the Mo family would be in a disadvantageous position. It was not only Tang Tian who did not care, even Crane and the rest did not care, because they all knew that Tang Tian had no interest in ruling over a constellation. What the fool wanted to do the most was to kill his way to Southern Cross Constellation in one breath, because Tang Yi had already led the Lupus army out. For a unique military general like Tang Yi, who had specialized tactics, and the soldiers under him had activated the ancient wolf race's blood meridians, only then could he contend against the middle-level armies. From here to here is the only way to Bear Egg. All of the Lupus martial artists split up and scatter into this region. My request is simple, that is to turn this place into a bandit swamp. The Lupus army appeared and disappeared around them, causing the Blue Whale army to be extremely tense, and their speed of advancement was as slow as a tortoise. "Where is Tang Yi?" Bing asked. Furthermore, there was Mo Lung, the mechanical Grandmaster engineer. From then on, Three Spirit City had 2 mechanical Grandmaster engineers overseeing it, and without question, Three Spirit City was the true #1 mechanical city. Who knew that it would be a lucky hit? Bing completely ignored everyone's murderous gazes and said, "So I have prepared many small toys for everyone. They are all good stuff from the Blood Meridian's laboratory. Whatever poison, knockout drugs, self-destructing beasts, everyone bring more. Relax, the usage is simple. Whatever water source, bury it in the ground. Throw the poison into the clouds. Don't take it to heart. If a saint is so easily monitored, he would not be a saint. Bing consoled Long Shou Jing. His face did not show any signs of panic. Bing did not comment and turned to ask Ta Dun, "What about the Plateau Army?" The Mo family's arrival had increased the strength of Three Spirits City. The Mo family was one of the few mechanical aristocratic families, the number of mechanical engineers, and their standard were all very good. Bing was as busy as a bee. Luckily for the general of the Blue Whale Army, he was clear as long as he could delay the Lupus Army, he had already completed his mission. The entire Ursa Major constellation was left with only one army with fighting strength. Three Spirits City was also in a mess. The Mo family had moved into Three Spirits City, and the matters involved were complicated, causing Pai Pa and the rest to be extremely tired. Tang Yi tried to attack a few times, but the opponent's military leader was extremely cautious and did not reveal any flaws. The opponent's formation was too thick, and Tang Yi did not dare to rush in too deep. If they waited for Tang Tian to succeed in tempering his spirit, and the special training ended, then the close to 500 billion star coins would be digested, and the new model of mechanical spirit weapons would be equipped, and that would be Cetus Constellation's nightmare. At this time, joining Three Spirit City was a kind of declaration. Chapter 457. Gong Qing gently took a sip of red wine. Over at Three Spirits City, does Elder Zhang have any thoughts? If we don't take action now, wouldn't it benefit others? Although my superior has already degenerated, my pursuit of the path of a famous general will not change, no matter what. Tang Chou coldly threw down these words and swaggered off. How many days has it been? Fu Yen felt that the only thing he could think of was to ask for help. Ask for help from the emperor. Ask for help from the Honorable Martial Alliance. He stared blankly into the distance, and suddenly felt that from here to Bear Egg, it was so far away. Little Cho Cho, don't be like that. Bing laughed and flicked his cigarette. Do you know what I like the most about this era? It's that everyone doesn't know that I am a famous general. Ha ha, I can finally do whatever I want. Bing laughed out loud, one hand on Tang Chow's shoulder, the other holding the cigarette and waving it in the air. Don't be so inflexible. As a person, the most important thing is to be flexible. Being flexible is the true way to win. They will have a way, right? Elder Zhang smiled. Tang Tian, although he is arrogant, but he does have some ability. But as the saying goes, when things reach an extreme, he is currently flushed with success and is not as cautious as before, and has given us the opportunity to take advantage of him. Gong Qing did not say anything, and only smiled as he raised the wine in his hand. We have more and more allies. That shows how popular the Honorable Martial Alliance is. Don't worry, Elder. Once we occupy Ursa Major Constellation, we will continue to support the Honorable Group's battle in Orion Constellation. But the most discussed topic in the banquet was still the war against Ursa Major Constellation. It was the first time in many years that Cetus Constellation initiated a war, and in the first few days, everyone was still apprehensive. But very quickly, the development of the war caused everyone's mood to become fervent. Gong Qing was happy in his heart, but his face remained calm. It is still too early to talk about this. That's right. How is the situation at Orion Constellation? Has there been any movements from Leo Constellation recently? In the blink of an eye, close to half of Ursa Major Constellation's planets had been occupied. The success of the war caused everyone in Cetus Constellation to be excited. Half of Ursa Major Constellation is already in His Majesty's hands. As long as we obtain the Desolate Barebone, the two constellations will merge, and Cetus Constellation will definitely become an ecliptic Pallas-grade constellation. Elder Zhang said respectfully, in the blink of an eye, all kinds of poisonous substances piled up like a mountain. The old men and women in Three Spirits City's Blood Meridian's laboratory were all boiling with excitement, as though they were injected with chicken blood. All the Blood Meridian's specialists only had one feeling, and that was exhilaration. Bing, affectionately stood on the podium of the Blood Meridian's laboratory and gave a passionate speech. How many people were there in 1,000,000? Everyone here is an elite, all of them at the 8th level of strength. Not sleeping for a few days is nothing. I will endure it. But after 5 days, Fu Yan finally understood what it meant to be a man made of iron and a woman made of steel. Although the number of casualties was not high, it was a huge blow to their morale. Gong Qing was a little surprised. What is it? All the soldiers heaved a sigh of relief. They could finally have a good sleep. Fu Yan turned around and looked at everyone. Everyone's green faces were filled with exhaustion. Those bastards didn't even let them sleep in the middle of the night. Whenever they set up camp, there would always be a large rain of arrows flying over. These arrows were powerful and ridiculously accurate. After a few nights of annoyance, everyone finally got used to it and slept with their shields on their heads. All right, let's just pretend it's raining. These descendants of the aristocratic families had eyes and ears everywhere, so they knew all the inside information. The puddle was slightly big. Since 5 days ago, they had started to encounter all sorts of harassment, attacks, and poisons. At the start, Fu Yan planned to wipe out all the bandits. But very quickly, he realized that if he sent too few people, they would be swallowed by the other party. If he sent more, the other party would run away. Fu Yan might as well just send the experts in the army, thinking to start a massacre. At the start, seeing the experts like eagles catching chicks, sweeping everything before them. Fu Yan was excited. In the end, the expert flew up into the sky, and upon entering the clouds, he fell down like a sandbag, smashing into pieces. Bing was stunned, then laughed out loud. Little clown is getting more and more interesting. This is a good sign. Relax, relax. We will win very soon. The two of them looked at each other and laughed, then clinked their cups and drank. Every Blood Meridian's specialist had a wild beast roaring in their hearts. It's finally our turn. No one felt it more deeply than Fu Yan. His face was so gloomy that it seemed as though 3 kilograms of water could be squeezed out. That year, when he rejected Tang Tian from entering Cetus Major Constellation, it was his idea. When Tang Tian seized Ursa Major Constellation, his mood was obvious. This time, he was the most proactive. Was it easy? He didn't need to turn his head to know that the soldiers behind him weren't any better off than Shui Chen. Rotten and depraved. Bing opened his eyes wide. He could not believe his ears, but after a while he reacted and roared at Tang Chao's back. Hey, come back! Explain to me what is rotten and depraved. In the end, in the rain of arrows, there were more than 10 poison sacks mixed in, although the martial artists on duty blocked most of them. But 2 of the poison sacks fell into the camp and killed more than 30 people. Tang Chou interrupted Bing's words. Be a man? Master, please face the fact that you are a spirit general. Living under the shadow of a broken woman who forged iron, how humiliating it was, other than the Blue Whale Army being held back. Their speed was slower, the White Whale Army and the Black Whale Army were like a hot knife through butter, continuously occupying many planets. Seeing Tang Chao's disappearing back, Bing laughed involuntarily, fiercely inhaling the cigarette in his hand, and muttered to himself, Little wimp, with just a bit of ability, he's so rebellious. Sigh, it's not easy to be a parent. This kind of fellow, only crazy Tang can educate him. Sigh, this is a good idea. I am truly too wretched. No, too genius. But with military merits, he would have a bright future. And after becoming rich, would he be afraid of not having any beauties? The key was under such extreme fatigue, under such a tense situation, he still had to endure the scolding and ridicule of these assholes day and night, a bunch of 6th-level little farts ridicule. 3 Spirits City. Ever since then, no one dared to fly in the air anymore. Inside the palace, there were songs and dances. The seats were filled with distinguished guests. and beauties were as common as the clouds. Elder Zhang's expression congealed and sighed. An inch of mountains and rivers, an inch of blood. This Tang Tian is so lucky. Yen Yonglai had already thrown him to Orion constellation, and this fellow took it without any effort. We were not so lucky at Orion constellation, but the situation was good, just that our losses were greater. But we have new reinforcements. Elder Zhang shook his head. Your Majesty, please forgive me. I cannot say that yet. The other party came and went like the wind, with 300 to 500 people in groups. Fu Yan almost thought that he had entered a bandit's lair. Wrong. This place could already be called a bandit's sacred land. Gong Qing was surprised. He slowly pondered over the words in his heart. After a moment, he revealed a smile. Seems like I was overthinking. Cetus constellation. This time, the experts in the army were not willing to move out. There were already 4 martial artists who lost control of their emotions and injured 6 of their comrades. Every step they took, they were extremely careful. Something could appear in the ground at any time. As for what it was, it depended on luck. There were already 20 people in the army who had their legs broken. Some were poisoned, some were cut off by the mechanisms, some were exploded by the self-destructing beasts. Stop. Set up camp here. Stay further away from the water. Split into 2 groups. One group will rest, the other will stand guard. No matter what happens, you are not to go out to battle. Fu Yan was strong. He knew if the soldiers under him did not rest, there would be a mutiny. The position was not bad. It was at least 10 li away from the forest, and within the surrounding 5 to 6 li, there was nothing to hide. It was not easy to have a chance to show off. How could everyone not put in all their effort? When he saw the figures disappearing into the forest and the strange green color reflected by the puddles in front of him, he was enraged, burning his liver in pain. All the water sources were poisoned. The powerful martial artists could, of course, use true power to protect their meridians, but the ordinary soldiers would suffer. The army was equipped with blood meridian specialists who were proficient in poisons, but the enemy had too many types of poisons. Even the army's blood meridians specialist was poisoned and was still groaning in the carriage. Fu Yan was not very sure. The number of bandits, the density was so high it was enough to make one's hair stand, and the methods of the bandits was even more outrageous. So, the crux of this battle will all depend on everyone. As long as everyone can produce sufficient and effective poisons, our initiative on the battlefield can be guaranteed. Tang Cho stood by Bing's side, watching coldly. As a famed general, to use such despicable, wretched, and sinister tactics, it is truly despicable. Gong Qing laughed. Although he was already over 60 years old, but he looked to be around 40 years old, and did not look old at all. His actions were refined. And he bowed back. I still have to thank Elder Zhang. Without your information, who would have known that Ursa Major constellation was bluffing and was actually so weak? The green puddles in front of them caused everyone to stop in their tracks. At the start, when everyone met with the puddles, they would fly over from above. With everyone's light body techniques, flying over the puddles was a piece of cake. In the end, there was one time when a small group flew above the puddles like dumplings. Plop, plop, they fell into the puddles, and after a few minutes, a layer of bones floated up. Tang Cho walked forward without turning his head, his voice drifting with the wind. If Master is unable to win, you can swap subordinates to fight. We will definitely win. This time, no one dared to sleep anymore. Tang Cho said coldly, the so-called famed general, shouldn't they have a prideful heart and devotion to war? Master, please conduct yourself with dignity. The people next door were simply a group of beasts. A pile of scrap metal could be sold for close to 500 billion star coins, and in a moment, they had crushed this side score to almost 0. The young aristocratic disciples in the competition grounds did not place their attention on the beauties, but were fervently discussing if they should bring their families' guards to Ursa Major constellation to earn some military merits. Fu Yen was on the verge of crying. He had never met such a despicable, treacherous, and unscrupulous opponent. "Congratulations, Your Majesty." A white-robed old man smiled and greeted Gongqing. Elder Zhang said profoundly, "Three Spirits City is a delicious cake. Some people want to eat it, some people want to destroy it." Chapter 458. Bell passed the information of the martial artists to Tang Cho, who politely replied, "Thank you." After his speech, Gong Qing drank some water to moisten his throat. The battle report immediately caused an uproar. No one thought that the Ursa Major constellation would be so shameless and use such despicable methods. Tang Tian's previous battles were all tough battles, causing people to admire his bravery and martial prowess. But this battle immediately changed the direction of the wind. Because of this, Tang Cho submitted a proposal to reorganize the base's defense, which was quickly passed. The current Three Spirits City's importance was obvious, and although there were many martial artists in Three Spirits City, most of them were mechanical martial artists. These years' mechanical martial artists' individual strengths were generally lower, and when they formed an army, their fighting strength would increase, but against experts who came and went like the wind, they were still relatively passive. After signing the martial spirit contract, there was no possibility of betrayal, and everyone's gazes immediately became more relaxed. At first, they were shocked and angry. They were shocked because Tang Cho had seen through them so thoroughly. They were angry because their weaknesses were publicly revealed, causing them to feel a sense of danger. Belle looked at Tang Cho strangely as an intelligence officer. Her senses were extremely sharp. She felt that Tang Cho seemed to have an obvious change, although Tang Cho was as polite as before. This brat seems to have really become stronger. The martial artists did not show any arrogance. Their professionalism was still relatively good. More importantly, before coming, Bell had shown them the video of the battle where they defeated the Flowing Wind group, and told them that the commander of the army in the video was Tang Cho. Tang Cho seemed to know what they were thinking with one sentence. He immediately made them quiet down. "Your Majesty is truly benevolent." Elder Zhang immediately praised. Everyone agreed that they needed stronger defense, so the job of recruiting people was handed over to Bell. "But if we let this group of great honorable light blood meridians specialists return alive, it will be very embarrassing. Hey, I am not a person to stir up trouble, but if this happened to me, I will definitely not be able to tolerate it. Wangbo, your rod techniques are extremely sharp, but your problem is as long as your attacks are continuously blocked more than 6 times, your rhythm will start to become messed up. And when your rod techniques are connected, there will be obvious pauses. This will become your weakness, and your lower body is too low, although it allows you to stabilize your center of gravity, but you will instead restrict your attacking area." Tang Chao's comment completely awed these martial artists. Gong Qing's speech was inspiring, and all the Cetus martial artists' eyes lit up. Lupus Bandits. It was said that he was a martial artist from a remote village with a star power concentration of only 1%. Moreover, the reward was 10,000 star coins. Elder Zhang exclaimed in admiration. His Majesty's speech just now was simply brilliant. 10,000 star coins for a head. Only His Majesty could think of such a brilliant idea. With a mere 10 billion star coins, you managed to destroy 1,000,000 lupus warriors. I am truly in awe of you. Tang Chao's voice was very calm, but it contained a convincing force. Bell had always been observing in the dark, so when Tang Chao's proposal passed, Bell quickly took action, and in a short period of time, recruited 20 strong martial artists. A smile appeared on Gong Qing's face. "Then I'm relieved." Tang Cho brought them to the training field and conducted extremely complicated and meticulous tests on them. There were many types of tests, many of which had never been heard of before. The martial artists were interested and curious, and everyone completed the test with great interest. They are all famous martial artists on the Heaven's Road list, but there are no gold-ranked martial artists. There are very few gold-ranked martial artists that do not have a master. Out of these 20 people, there are 3 who are ranked between 4000 to 6000 in Heaven's Road, and the rest are 17 people who are ranked after 6000. This is their information. The rest, I'll leave it to you. Get rid of them. Gong Qing was delighted, and his face revealed a reserved smile. If he wants to use the human wave tactic against us, then we can only accompany him. I don't know if the Lupus clan will be exterminated this time. This makes me feel uneasy. All of you have already signed the martial spirit contract. From today onwards, all of you will be teammates. Your teammates understand your weaknesses, and that is more important than understanding your strengths, because the former can prevent you from dying, and the latter can often bring you victory. Belle could clearly see that every single martial artist had an unnatural expression on their faces. A few of them were perspiring profusely, holding onto their weapons tightly. Belle was extremely surprised. Could it be that, through these tests, Tang Cho had already completely understood the situation of these martial artists? A person's reputation was like a tree's shadow. The Flowing Wind Group's fearsome name made these martial artists look up to Tang Cho. And with the Honorable Martial Alliance sending out a group of Blood Meridian specialists, everyone was more assured. Ha 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 ha. To achieve a better battle result, we need to try out different combinations and also need to formulate a corresponding strategy. If Tang Cho became stronger, that would be a good thing. Although up till now, the dangers that the base had encountered could only be considered as daunting but not dangerous, but it still made Belle extremely worried, especially as the Three Spirits City received more and more attention. The number of people mixed into the Three Spirits City also increased rapidly. Elder Zhang immediately said, "Your Majesty, rest assured, the Honorable Martial Group's group of Blood Meridian specialists have already set off. They are the most experienced Blood Meridians specialists of the Honorable Martial Group. Their strength is definitely strong." Could it be that something happened to this guy? At this time, to be able to recruit such high-quality martial artists in such a short period of time, Belle's work could be said to be outstanding. Of course, the salary of these experts was also shocking. Every one of them had a settlement allowance of more than 1 billion. 20 of them would be 20 billion. But in the current Three Spirits City, they were considered a small tyrant. Tang Cho did not look at the information in his hands, but took the lead and walked to the front. Belle was curious about how Tang Cho would train these martial artists and followed behind. Belle, who was in charge of intelligence, had a wide network of friends and even had her own intelligence organization. But even so, she was only able to recruit 40 people. The wild beasts that were roaring in everyone's hearts all ran out. They were pulling their throats. Their faces were sinister, killing intent soaring. To be able to cultivate to such a stage, how could they be stupid? Three Spirits City was like a delicious cake. Many people wanted to dip a finger into it. And looking at Heaven's Road, Three Spirits City's strength was not considered strong. Tang Cho glanced at the martial artists behind Belle. There were roughly 40 of them. All of them were releasing their spirit chi, and their strength was not bad. Now that the world was in chaos, the status of martial artists had also risen. The crux was, it was hard to recruit them. There were so many rich people. As long as you had the ability, no matter how expensive it was, people would want you. I do not discriminate against the Honorable Martial Alliance. Really? Sita's constellation immediately flared up. She felt that it was inconceivable. In her eyes, all the tests were messy and broken, and she completely did not understand their use. "Kill them!" Someone shouted. Belle looked at Tang Cho, deep in thought. Master Bing said that Tang Cho was a staff officer-type military general. Could it be that a staff officer-type military general was like that? But Pai Pa often praised Tang Cho for being powerful, but the two of them seemed to quarrel more often. "Su Lei, your most proficient area of attack. is the area between 2M to 10M to your right. Your first counterattack, 75% of the attack, will habitually land in that area. Your powerful techniques have a probability of 83% of attacking that area. And below your left ribs is your weak point. All the Heaven Road list martial artists in front of him were like obedient students, well-behaved. TSK, a group of Blood Meridian specialists. The Honorable Martial Alliance's most experienced group of Blood Meridians specialists. When I heard the bad news, I was almost stunned. Then I suddenly reacted. They seem to be from the Honorable Martial Alliance. The Honorable Martial Alliance has Blood Meridians specialists. The Honorable Martial Alliance actually wants to compete with us in Blood Meridians specialists. So scary. Very quickly, Tang Cho let them directly feel his strength. Three Spirits City. The defense of the base had always been a problem. Although there were layers of mechanisms and there were armies stationed in the base, but against experts, they were always in a difficult situation. If not for Tang Yi, it would have been another tough battle. Please follow me. The old men and women below all pounded the ground and laughed without a care in the world. Most of them came from Onyx Soul, and upon hearing that the Honorable Martial Alliance actually wanted to compete with them in terms of Blood Meridians specialists and poison, they immediately became happy. With regards to the group of Blood Meridian specialists, I will have to trouble Elder, Gongqing said. In the Blood Meridian's laboratory, Bing's frivolous words that were filled with ridicule resonated out, and from time to time, loud laughter could be heard. I only managed to recruit this many people, Bell said helplessly. This is enough to prove that the Ursa Major constellation is at the end of its road and has exhausted all its tricks. They already have no other way to stop us. Brave warriors of Cetus constellation, victory is right in front of us. As long as we put in a bit more effort, the Ursa Major constellation will be ours. Any hero that expands the territory of Cetus constellation will receive a fair reward. They are trying to use bandits to stop us, but they do not know those lowly lupus bandits will only become the souls under the blades of us Cetus constellation martial artists. Our allies, the Honorable Martial Alliance, will send out their powerful Blood Meridians specialists to help us obtain victory. I will announce a bounty here. Any head of a lupus martial artist can receive a reward of 10,000 star coins. Brave warriors of Cetus constellation, what are you waiting for? Immediately, it made the hearts of the less wealthy martial artists palpitate with excitement. That's right, their strength was ordinary, but no matter what, they were still stronger than the cannon fodder of lupus constellation. Fu Yan's request for help reached Cetus constellation, and at the same time, the Black Whale Army's request for help arrived. This thought flashed past her mind, but she did not think much about it. In her mind, Tang Cho was a bookworm and completely did not have the air of a military general. Giving lessons to the mechanical martial artists every day was not something a military general should do. Chapter 4:59. Many of the ambitious poison-related Blood Meridians specialists were all aiming for this point, and almost all of them were mobilized. Such an opportunity was hard to come by a second time. This is Ursa Major constellation. When the dumbstruck and shameless advertisement came out, the Onyx Soul's Blood Meridians specialists immediately went crazy. The few Blood Meridians specialists at the front all fell to the ground at the same time, and the martial artists beside them all had green faces, all of them using their true power to expel the poison. The other martial artists beside the Blood Meridians specialists all activated their true power barriers, protecting the Blood Meridians specialists inside. Pai Pa quickly skimmed through the report without raising her head. She said, I never thought that we would lose. Onyx Soul's Blood Meridians specialists were all eager. When the Onyx Soul's Blood Meridians specialists heard that, they all sneered. Countless of history told her, Any powerhouse, when they were all united, was extremely difficult to defeat. The majority of the Cetus martial artists had never come to Ursa Major constellation before, so they could not help but look around curiously, since the reports from the front lines were spreading like wildfire. Ursa Major constellation, star door. In such a short period of time, it was naturally difficult to research out a new poison, but that did not mean they had no other methods. After being a blood meridian specialist for so many years, who did not have a few friends? When they all started to spread the news, the entire Onyx Soul's system of blood meridians specialists were all alarmed, ignoring the fact that both parties were mortal enemies fighting openly and covertly. Such a good opportunity. If they let it go, they would be struck by lightning. Just based on that sentence, the Onyx Soul's blood meridians specialists could not tolerate it. Poison research was not mainstream in the research of blood meridians, so the use of poison had never been widely acknowledged. The use of poison and the lack of actual battle cases made the use of poison not have much persuasion. That also caused the high-level poison's price to not be considered high in the market, and the blood meridians specialists that researched poison were mostly poor. With that, all the Cetus martial artists could no longer sit still. Previously, the bounty for a lupus martial artist was 10,000 star coins, which only moved the hearts of the Cetus martial artists who were financially strapped. But to waive 3 years of star power usage fees, even the wealthy Cetus martial artists would move without hesitation. Compared to 500,000 star coins, it was much bigger. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew over. Not everyone was here for fame and fortune. Some people were here to test the actual combat ability of their works. Poison was a very different kind of work, especially those that had a large area of effect. The battlefield situation was complicated, and everyone's true power level and mental cultivation technique were different, so it was hard to determine how effective it was. Furthermore, bloodline specialists who specialize in toxins would never dare to experiment on humans. Doing so would result in a tragic death. In the crowd, a middle-aged man stared nervously at the image in front of him. When he saw the 3 bloodline specialists fall to the ground, his face lit up with joy. But following that, the other martial artists used their dense true power to dissolve the poison, causing his smile to freeze. Behind them, the tide-like whale cultivators were in an uproar. Many people revealed hesitant and cowering expressions because they suddenly realized that the situation was probably even more brutal than they'd imagined. He was dumbfounded. After a while, he subconsciously muttered to himself, "Old Man Fei," and the rest admired Master Bing to the point of prostrating before him. And if he said it another way, the effect would be completely different. They were immediately surrounded by countless Onyx Soul Blood Meridians experts. "Uncle Bing is so sinister, so wretched." Belle's face was filled with praise. "I suddenly have a feeling maybe we will win this time." So when the advertisement was spread around the various cities of Onyx Soul, it immediately struck the hearts of the Blood Meridians experts. Who did not want to be acknowledged? Who did not want to be rich? Who did not want to be respected wherever they went? The Cetus constellation martial artists that were swarming over curiously looked around. It did not seem any different from other places. The number of Cetus martial artists that had swarmed into Ursa Major constellation was astonishing, because 2 days ago, Gongqing had announced that as long as they killed 50 lupus martial artists, they would be exempted from using star power for 3 years. Honorable Martial Alliance Blood Meridians experts, they were not allowed to retreat. "I can go to the battlefield. This poison, its usage is unique. I am proficient in all sorts of poisons." The Cetus martial artists' expressions calmed down. The scene in front of them made them feel at ease. No matter how powerful the opponent's poison was, with such an investigation, there should not be any danger. These are the 30 types of poison that I have meticulously concocted, and I myself am an experienced poison-type blood meridians expert. I have rich battle experience and can adapt to different situations, and it was a proper battle and was more convincing than anything else. Was there a better opportunity than this? For this battle, the higher-ups had given a death order. Old Man Fay and the rest were all from Onyx Soul and had deep connections with Onyx Soul. Maybe because of their tempers, they were not successful in Onyx Soul, but they still had deep connections. You're so confident. Belle was surprised. In the blink of an eye, in every Onyx Soul city, the poison that was gathered was piling up like a mountain. There were so many Blood Meridians experts in Onyx Soul, but not many who researched on poison. But even so, because of the huge base, the quantity was equally astonishing. The Battle of Ursa Major Constellation had attracted the attention of the entire Heaven's Road. If they could use such an opportunity to become famous, then their worth would definitely increase, especially when they heard that the Honorable Martial Alliance confidently said, "The Honorable Martial Alliance has a powerful and resourceful group of Blood Meridians experts." Onyx Soul immediately went into an uproar. All of the Honorable Martial Group martial artists' faces became extremely ugly. The middle-aged man thought of something, his face once again revealing an excited smile, and flew back home. "Do you think we are all dead? Seems like against high-level martial artists, the poison is not strong enough. Oh, I need to think of a way to increase the purity. The cost is too high. Maybe I can add in some ingredients that erode true power." This is a good idea. All the Blood Meridians experts were equipped with specialized identifying treasures. The most common was the microscopic constellation treasure, and almost everyone had a silver grade, microscopic eye. The microscopic eye was shaped like a magnifying glass with a silver handle. When true power was injected into it, the microscopic eye would shoot out a ray of light aura. Wherever the light aura shone, if there was any abnormality, the mirror would reveal small red words. The Honorable Martial Alliance's discipline was strict. All the Honorable Martial Group martial artists looked at each other, but did not retreat. They rearranged their positions and continued to advance. But even more people's gazes landed on the Blood Meridians experts dressed in the Honorable Martial Group robes. "This is a hidden type poison that we have jointly developed. Its effect is not fast or violent, but ordinary poison identifying treasures are unable to identify it. I hope that this battle will be able to prove it." Suddenly, a deafening cheer came out from the mechanical weapons laboratory. Pa and Belle raised their heads, looked at each other, and ran towards the mechanical weapons laboratory. Who would have thought that Tang Tian and the rest would actually take the initiative to broadcast the entire process of the battle, which immediately attracted a lot of attention. The Blood Meridians experts who had already sent out the poison were even more focused, personally witnessing the process of the battle. It would be of great help to them in optimizing and improving. He could not wait to test out his new idea, and he definitely had to take the chance before the battle ends to produce a new product. "I need to pay for going to the battlefield. Free. I promise to follow orders. As long as you guys let me participate. This thing is called gray spores. They are 100 times smaller than dust and are extremely convenient to use. They can fly with the wind and can be sent into the clouds. One bottle is just enough to cover 100 li. There are 200 bottles here. Please keep them well." As there were too many people, it caused the starry door to be congested, until Bing smiled and waved his pen to write a slogan, allowing Old Man Fay and the rest to spend money to advertise in the various cities of Onyx Soul, which immediately caused the various cities of Onyx Soul to explode. Because everyone is working so hard, Pa's tone was firm. She did not shift her gaze away from the report in her hands. The amount of materials used by the mechanical weapons laboratory had reached an astonishing number. Pa knew how hard the mechanical engineers worked. Every single one of them spontaneously worked day and night. No fame, no money, no status. That was the current situation of the poison-type Blood Meridians specialists. Every plaza in Onyx Soul City projected a large-scale image, allowing people to clearly see the ongoing Ursa Major constellation battlefield. Every plaza was filled with people. Regardless if it was the Blood Meridian's specialists or martial artists, they were all extremely curious about the battle. Such a large-scale use of poison had never happened before in the past wars. The Blood Meridian's specialists of Three Spirits City were all mobilized and were sent to the various cities of Onyx Soul. Old Man Fei and the rest were almost going crazy. They had no choice but to use their tongues and tongues to tactfully reject the crazy Blood Meridian specialists. In the end, the Blood Meridian specialists could only leave unwillingly, leaving behind a large amount of poison. The Honorable Martial Alliance did not go back on their words. They truly sent out a large group of Blood Meridian specialists, numbering in the hundreds, and every few meters there would be a Blood Meridian's specialist. All of the Blood Meridian's specialists carried out a dragnet type of inspection and advanced forward like a white chain. After a moment, the green aura on the faces of the Honorable Martial Group martial artists that were poisoned previously receded, and they returned to normal. But the 3 Blood Meridian's specialists who were on the ground were already dead. Only in such a real battlefield could they produce the most authentic proof. Beside every Blood Meridian specialist, there were a few high-level martial artists following closely. They were vigilant to prevent any sudden attacks. You worked your heart out, you forgot to eat and sleep, and used a genius concept to create a world-shocking masterpiece. You believe that it can change the world. You believe that it is priceless. You believe that it can leave its name in the history books. But it quietly lies in a dusty corner, and no one knows about it. You are unable to prove how good it is in battle. You are vexed that you do not know how to prove its greatness. Come and participate in this grand battle. The first poison battle in history, the cruelest battle, the pinnacle battle, is about to begin. In the name of poison and greatness, Ursa Major constellation respectfully awaits the arrival of your masterpiece. Chapter 460. The 3 armies abandoned all the cities. The 3 armies formed a triangle, resonating with each other, advancing in a rolling manner. Their target was clear. They pounced straight for Tang Tian at Bear Egg. The Mo family was placed in the base, and the first thing they built was not a house, but a Mo family workshop, for the Mo family to become a mechanical aristocratic family. Naturally, they had their own unique mechanical techniques, and the Mo family workshop was one of them. For example, around them, a hero could not fight against numbers. Grandmaster Jin-sun, who was equipped with gold star treasures, finally fell to an unknown poison. This poison was called Grandmaster's Kiss and became famous. And its inventor, Hall, truly became famous in one battle and was immediately absorbed by Onyx Soul to become an elder. And the price of his Grandmaster's Kiss went from 10,000 star coins to 5 billion star coins, which no one cared about. In the second week, the number of casualties had already exceeded 12,000 people, and the Blood Meridian's specialists that the Honorable Martial Alliance had just reinforced had their numbers reduced. The opponent's poison was varied and was continuously improving, and the Blood Meridian's specialists of the Honorable Martial Alliance were unable to handle it. But at that time, even the strong Honorable Martial Alliance were unable to invite a Blood Meridian's Grandmaster. No one was willing to become the target of public criticism. Jin-sun used his life to help Hall's reputation. In the darkness, there were countless people waiting to become the new Hall. They were like hungry wolves with green eyes. Mo Wei Tian personally supervised. He was half naked, his expression solemn as he looked around, checking on the progress. This is normal in a war, a powerful and singular method. There will definitely be a way to counter it. And you have already completed the mission 4 weeks. That is enough. Bing's eyes flashed with a cold light. The entire Cetus constellation was once again filled with confidence. All the powerhouses that were paying attention to the war were all thinking about how to deal with the situation. There was nothing in the world that was invincible, although the poison was powerful, but there was definitely a way to counter it. With that, Old Man Fay turned and left. Ursa Major Constellation's poison warfare. No one expected it to be so powerful. Now, in Onyx Sol, poison-related blood meridians specialists were extremely popular, their statuses had increased, and all the big powerhouses were extending their olive branches. Everyone knew that it was impossible for them to fight another poison war like this again, but everyone wanted to keep a few poison bloodline specialists in their hands so that they wouldn't be killed unknowingly. Their strengths were all outstanding, and their experience was plentiful. Upon training, they could immediately feel Bing's tactics and how strong they were. Old Man Fay knew that Bing was right, but his mood was not good and said gloomily, "I will go and research and see if there is any way to break the King Kong wall. Everyone's mission is complete. We've stalled them for 4 whole weeks. These 4 weeks are very precious to us." On the 3rd week, the Honorable Martial Alliance used a large sum of money to invite the famous Blood Meridian's Grandmaster, Ah Jinsun, who knew that he would attract the passion of the Onyx Sol Blood Meridian specialists, and all sorts of new and strange poisons were sent to Old Man Fay and the rest. In the 4th week, the casualties of the Cetus martial artists decreased sharply, and the 3 armies that were unable to move finally started to advance. Our poison is useless now. Old Man Fay was slightly depressed. The silent deaths in the video were shocking and frightening. Bing did not stop them. It was a good thing to be ambitious. Wars required open and above-board battles, and also required all sorts of new and novel methods, and a partial advantage was the foundation of an overall advantage. What could be better than stepping on a grandmaster in front of everyone's eyes and becoming famous in one battle? It was an ugly mechanical spirit weapon, but under its metal body that was still burning with residual heat, Mo Wei Tian could feel a strong pulse. After so many generations, the Mo family workshop had finally produced the strongest mechanical spirit weapon of this era. In the short span of 2 weeks, the number of martial artists that died was close to 20,000, causing the majority of the people to feel a chill in their hearts, and the thought of retreating emerged. And when the group of roughly 1,000 people suddenly fell down without a sound, like wheat being cut down, never to rise again, the fear that was triggered immediately caused a wave of star return tide. Gong Qing's face had aged a few times. Bing even specially ran over to console them. After 4 weeks, they had finally established an initial level of tacit understanding, although Tang Cho was still extremely unsatisfied, but they were somewhat eager to try. Is this the pulse of this era? All of these unorthodox martial artists finally deeply felt what was called professionalism. In the past, all of the so-called tactical grandmasters that they had met, the tactics they designed, were simply crude compared to Tang Cho. Ursa Major Constellation's battle had sunk into a stalemate, and more than 80% of the Cetus martial artists had already returned to Cetus Constellation. Although 3 years of star power usage was attractive, but compared to their lives, what was it? Without the help of the poison, the lupus martial artists' bandit-like harassment became much weaker. Although the 3 armies still had casualties, but the number of casualties had already reached the lowest level since the start of the war. Countless people sighed. Countless people were extremely jealous. Countless people were eager to try. In the Cetus Constellation Palace, the atmosphere was heavy. Suddenly, Su Lei, who had the best 6 senses, quivered and quietly gestured to everyone. Because it was specially designed for them, they trained extremely quickly, and the few types of tactics that they trained were all like fish in water. What they needed to strengthen now was the tacit understanding between them. Many years later, when countless people talked about that scene, their eyes would still be filled with deep fear. Every battle report in front of them, the scarlet red numbers, were all dripping with blood. It was a ghastly sight. When Mo Wei Tian saw the newest mechanical spirit weapon that had just been formed, with the Mo family workshop's symbol, Mo Wei Tian's tears almost flowed out. A small method, but it caused the situation of the battle to suddenly change, and cause a huge change. Everyone was startled, and then their eyes lit up. The deep foundation of the Honorable Martial Alliance was undoubtedly displayed at this time. The ancestors of the Mo family had long understood, in the era of the decline of mechanical weapons, low-end mechanical weapons, mechanical beasts were the most mainstream products. Towards low-end products, cost control was undoubtedly the line of life and death. After many generations of accumulation and research, the Mo family finally formed their own unique production method, and that was the Mo family workshop. Old Man Fei and the rest were all gloomy. In the previous battle, they still held the upper hand. Who knew that in the blink of an eye, they would be broken? King Kong Wall was a broken martial technique. It was not profound at all. It formed a layer of compressed true power around the human body. Compared to other true power barriers, it was even more substantial. No matter how outstanding a Blood Meridian's Grandmaster was, if they were to come out at this time, they would become the prey of the hungry wolves. Every tactic was meticulously calculated and designed. Even the flaws and traps inside were meticulously arranged. He touched the black and rough mechanical spirit weapon. The mechanical spirit weapon was still warm from when it was forged. The surface of the spikes had not been polished, it had not been painted, and had not been beautified. But in Mo Wei Tian's eyes, it was like the most perfect work of art, causing him to be deeply infatuated. Although the three armies had not lost contact, but the losses of the three armies were extremely severe. Ursa Major Constellation was fighting like a raging fire. Why was there no movement here? Three Spirits City Bronze Base. Every small group's tactics training manual was completely different, and following the training, they could feel it even more clearly. After 4 days, the 20 martial artists were all in admiration of Tang Cho. In just 3 days, Tang Cho had confirmed all of their arrangements. The 20 of them were split into 5 small groups. This was nothing, but what made them feel inconceivable was in a short span of 2 days, Tang Cho had given every small group at least 60 pages of tactics training manual. Mo Wei Tian suddenly had a heroic spirit. I will let you all experience the full power of the Mo family workshop and the King Kong wall formed by the army. Although it was not enough to defend against attacks, but to prevent poisons, it was extremely effective. The Mo family workshop had a set of unique mechanical manufacturing methods, which allowed them to control their cost to a very low level. It was because of this that in the era where mechanical techniques declined, one after another mechanical aristocratic families withered, while the Mo family was safe and sound. All of these experienced craftsmen were the Mo family's greatest wealth. 3 Spirits City. Elder Zhang clenched his teeth. We need to get rid of 3 Spirits City first. Without 3 Spirits City, Ursa Major Constellation will not have a fulcrum, and we can focus on dealing with Ursa Major Constellation. King Kong Wall, an unorthodox and shallow martial technique. It could form an airtight, true power barrier around the body. It was discovered to be able to effectively block 90% of poisons. This method, after being suggested by an elder, was immediately perfected. Especially armies, under the control of military leaders, could easily form a large-scale King Kong wall. The 20 of them were so scared that they almost cried. Unless the King Kong wall was trained to an extremely profound level, its defense was actually useless. Although the King Kong wall was sturdy, it lacked elasticity, and to clash head-on with head-on defense, it would cause people to vomit blood. But this layer of King Kong wall that was as hard as porcelain was extremely effective against poisons. And for those poison-related blood meridian specialists who had proven themselves in the war, their value had skyrocketed to a shocking level. It had been a long time since the Mo family was so busy. Ever since the Mo family workshop was built, it had never truly been fully operated. But the Mo family did not have any complaints. It was their first battle, and also a battle of life and death. And seeing the scarlet molten iron, seeing the bustling scene, every single Mo family member's face was brimming with fighting spirit. How many generations of Mo families dream? The Mo family workshop was brightly lit. The voices of people were like a cauldron, the rumbling of the mechanisms, sparks flying, the scarlet molten iron meandered. The air was filled with the heat of metal. The muscular craftsmen, all of their true power lit up with light auras, the metal hammers that were even bigger than his body, all of them accurately struck the same position of the components. Some of the craftsmen had serious and focused expressions, holding on to fine knives cutting the bronze components. The bronze threads were like shavings. Every knife was perfectly straight like a ruler drawing. In the first week, there were already over 4,000 Cetus constellation martial artists dead. The Honorable Martial Alliance was much smaller, especially the high-level martial artists. Only 67 of them died, but the Blood Meridian Specialist Group had lost close to 70%. Cetus constellation no longer had an optimistic mood. Everyone realized the war had already slipped into a situation that they had no control over. Those who were prepared to reap a fortune had all returned dejectedly, and in that moment, Cetus constellation actually sank into a slump. Chapter 461. Fight. Fight. What he did not know was that not far away, there was a pair of eyes watching them closely. Tang Cho was engrossed. His expression was focused. Saints were a powerful individual force and had a huge influence on the battle, and in the future, he would have to face them. Only his eyes were filled with madness and determination. His eyes turned cold, and his figure suddenly disappeared. Jing Hao suddenly stood up. His face was first shocked. Then his eyes revealed a look of suspicion, but after a few seconds, he suddenly understood. It was Crazy Tang. The platform was smashed into pieces. Star power erupted. Damn it! He casually extended his 5 fingers and suddenly flicked the sword tip. The towering bronze city walls were brightly lit, and through the thick and sturdy walls, he could hear the shouts of training coming out from inside. His expression became cold again. To him, the towering city walls did not pose any difficulty. He was like a wisp of smoke, quietly flying up the city walls. His 5 fingers were like hooks without any changes. They were as fast as lightning. An unprecedented, miserable shriek, filled with incomparable pain, but with an indescribable sense of bitterness, solemnity, and determination. Jing Hao quickly retreated. The expanding sword whirlpool was like a tornado, shredding everything around it. The ropes inside the bear egg were instantly shredded. Countless of ropes flew in the air, and were shredded even more. His body was still trembling like a sieve. Suddenly, like a wild beast that had smelled its prey, he raised his head and turned his head. Clang! Even the pain from tempering his martial spirit was unable to stop the anxiety in his heart. He could not wait to stop and fight alongside everyone else. The coordination between all of them was obviously planned, and they have some standard. Jing Hao retreated over 30 m. The sword whirlpool storm was still expanding at an astonishing speed. The star power continued to pour in, causing the concentration of Ursa Major constellation's star power to plummet. The sword whirlpool storm had completely swallowed the bear egg, and everything was being smashed into pieces by the sword whirlpool storm. On a small hill about 50 kilometers away from the bear egg, the 3 saints watched the enormous sword whirlpool storm, their faces ashen. What a good example. Jing Hao retreated again. I can't stay here and train and watch you guys fight. I can't do it. The crazy and reckless screams were heart-wrenching. Ding! Wen Jiang smiled bitterly, but his steps were still firm. He couldn't refuse any of her requests. He stayed by her side, and watched her grow up, become a wife, and have children. He thought that he would be there for her until she passed away. At that time, he would become her gravekeeper. When Jiang didn't panic in the slightest, he flicked and blocked with his palm. His moves were clearly extremely simple, but the power behind them was extremely shocking. But after 5 or 6 moves, when Jiang sensed that something was wrong, not far away, Jing Hao, who was meditating to protect Tang Tian, suddenly opened his eyes. He sensed something strange from Tang Tian's screams. What was going on? His opponent was clearly slower by half a beat. He only had time to use the copper rod in his hand to block the front of his body. However, his 5 fingers suddenly turned from hard to soft. As gentle as the wind, they strangely brushed past his opponent's copper rod and stabbed straight into his opponent's chest. Is this fellow still human? Fist St. Do-Young stammered, his face pale. He felt as if he was struggling in the ocean. One moment he was in the water, the next moment he was floating on the surface. The constant feeling of suffocation and muddle-headedness was like instinct. Jing Hao was shocked into a daze. The tempered martial spirit was like a tentacle wrapping around the sword, aura. It was as if his hand was holding onto the sword's edge. The shocking pain was like a tide, causing him to almost faint. That pain did not come from anywhere. Instead, it went straight into his heart. It was a pain that directly affected the martial spirit. Every detail of the pain was so clear. His consciousness was in a blur. He was swallowed by the torrential pain. His body trembled continuously. His face was not as ferocious as before, and his tightly shut eyes seemed to have relaxed. Long Shou Jing looked at the enormous sword whirlpool in the distance. He was dumbstruck. Beside him, every martial artist was trembling. Their faces were filled with deep respect. I beg you, you must kill her. In the shabby little house, he felt a few faintly discernible auras. Fight. He was still in a daze. The direction he was facing was the small hill where the 3 saints were hiding. Tang Tian's screams were extremely mournful. He praised in his heart. Seems like 3 Spirit City security was much tighter than he thought. But the 8 people surrounding him did not move him. The reason why he chose to sneak in was to save himself some trouble. Since he could not sneak in, then he would just barge in. There was no difference. Then Sai lay. Inside the chaos, there was a faint voice. It's so painful. I really want everyone to try it. He quietly floated down from the city wall. His body seemed to be weightless. He gently landed on the ground. Not even a speck of dust was raised. Bai Cici's beautiful face lost color. She turned and asked He Yuming, Brother, the whirlpool sword spirit tempering technique, does it have such power? I know. At this time, I should wait for the tempering to be completed. I know. At this time, there is no room for error. That is more rational, that is more reasonable. The citizens of the New Bear Head City were alarmed by the strange sound. They all came out. Seeing the gigantic figure in front of him, even the strong Jing Hao could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. A rapier had unknowingly pierced towards him. The rapier martial artist at the side mustered his true power and anxiously supported him. Tang Tian's senses of the outside world was already completely cut off. The whirlpool sword storm was extremely dense, and he could not see anything. Only the light aura of the desolate bare bone above his head was like the sunlight that pierced through the clouds, shining down, causing him to feel a trace of warmth. Anyways, I am crazy. All of you can mock me if you want. But when danger is approaching, to see all of you blocking in front of me, I can't do it. A piece of white paper was placed in front of him. On it was a title, Key Tactics to Restrain a Saint Rank. The whirlpool sword's rotation speed continued to increase. The astonishing number of sword auras continuously swept past Tang Tian's martial spirit. Every sword aura would cause Tang Tian's martial spirit to tremble. The whirlpool sword rumbled. I have not forgotten her. His martial spirit was completely enveloped by sparks. That's good. When the whirlpool sword's speed continued to increase, dazzling sparks exploded around his martial spirit like fireworks. His body bent over, trembling violently like a sieve. Very stupid, right? A look of fear flashed past Yu Ming's eyes. He only felt that his mouth was dry. I have never heard of this before. Inconceivable, truly inconceivable. How is this possible? This person inside, isn't he going to be minced into meat paste? In the next second, he appeared in front of one of the martial artists. Out of the 8 of them, he was the strongest and was just a step away from being a saint. But the step away from being bestowed as a saint was like the difference between heaven and earth. The bear egg's size was astonishing, and the whirlpool sword storm's size had already swallowed the bear egg. Tang Tian could feel everything that was happening outside. Battle. The delicate voice was filled with sorrow and fear. He could do anything for her. Bing, who had just brought back a batch of poison from Three Spirits City, was stunned by the scene in front of him. An immense power suddenly exploded out like a raging wave. The sword tip crumbled inch by inch, and the martial artist thrusting the sword flew out as though he was struck by a heavy blow. For hundreds of thousands of people to stop training, there could only be one possibility. Something had happened. Tang Tian's heart was burning with anxiety, but the whirlpool sword storm did not show any signs of stopping. Tang Tian. When Jiang was surprised, the speed of the sword was not bad, but a pity it was fast and powerless. Very quickly, he sensed that the whirlpool sword storm was changing. It was accelerating, but a pity. Maybe I will die this time. I heard that Three Spirits City is very strong. Inside the bear egg, a super whirlpool sword storm was quickly forming. Sparks flashed. The desolate bare bone flew above Tang Tian's head, the star power suddenly becoming extremely dense. The martial artists in Heaven's Road, who were observing the sky, were surprised to realize that the handle of the Big Dipper in the blue dome of heaven had quietly shifted. His figure was hidden in the darkness. His chi was not revealed at all, not even the vibrations in the air. He moved along the shadows. It was light and powerless, but his speed was extremely fast. He could see everything that was happening below. His eyes were extremely sharp. His heart was already as hard as stone, but thinking about the scene before him, his heart was still in pain. He did not see Sai Lei, but in that moment of delay, the other martial artists took the chance to move forward. They were truly alert. Killing one person or killing a city of people. In his eyes, there was no difference. Bear egg. Even the viciousness was so similar. It was a simple and clean move, but it was difficult to be so fast and to be able to change it as one wished. Even the strong gold rank martial artist would be in danger after one move. He had just landed and realized that he was surrounded. His thoughts paused for a few seconds before he slowly adapted. He could only adapt. The pain of entering the martial spirit was unable to divert his attention to ease it. The past was dug out. The little girl who was chased out had turned into a mechanical grandmaster engineer. That old man actually wanted to use Qianqian's life to exchange for Sai Lei. That was something he could not sit and watch. He knew that he had no chance to get close to the old man, although he was already a saint, but the Yifan family's foundation was extremely deep. Pa! Suddenly a spark lit up. Tang Tian's martial spirit trembled intensely. The extreme pain in that moment caused Tang Tian's mind to go blank. It must be hidden in a deeper place. Bang! Tang Tian's eyelashes trembled. After a while, he opened his eyes in a daze. In just a few moves, when Jiang felt as though he had fallen into a spider web, his techniques were becoming more and more difficult to execute, as though there was a formless restriction around him. His gaze was cold. To him, there was only one person in the world who could not die, and that was Qianqian. He recalled the events of the past, the woman who looked somewhat similar to Chu Shi, the woman he loved deeply. Before she died, she entrusted the baby girl in her swaddling clothes to him, forcing him to swear an oath to protect the baby girl for a lifetime. When everyone was fighting, how could I just watch from the side? After 4 consecutive days, the lupus martial artists did not return. Tang Tian understood that the situation was extremely dangerous. His restless heart calmed down. The sword aura wrapped around his pupils flashed a look of determination. Chapter 462. This time, Tang Chao's character had become even more stubborn and resolute. Compared to before, he was even more outstanding. Tang Chou was right. Everyone's path was different. Saints were being deconstructed and analyzed in his eyes. In every confrontation on the battlefield, every detail was dismembered into data in his mind. He was dumbstruck. He was very familiar with the whirlpool sword spirit tempering technique. As a swordsman, he had a considerable understanding of all kinds of sword techniques. The whirlpool sword spirit tempering technique was hailed as the cruelest spirit tempering technique. How could he not know? Not only did he know about it, but he had also specially studied it for a period of time. He, who was determined to create his own martial path, was filled with interest towards any extreme techniques in sword arts. Run, He Yuming said straightforwardly. This was the true power of heaven and earth. The 3 of them suddenly split up and flew in 3 different directions. Even if it was a gold-ranked martial artist, under this song, if it was light, their blood vessels would expand, their heart would run wild, and if it was heavy, they would explode and die. Why don't you try it first? He Yuming's eyes were filled with encouragement. Those gaudy and shocking attacks were like clothes being peeled off layer by layer, becoming the most primitive state in his eyes. Fate was truly unpredictable. A trace of seriousness flashed past Jing Hao's eyes. He raised his sword and moved like the wind, following closely behind the moving sword Tempest Cyclone. Is it coming for us? Do Yong asked in a daze. This order made them feel very strange, but they still obediently watched from the side. Magic Flute laughed helplessly and floated away. Magic Flute gently advised, "Your killing intent is too strong." This guy, what is he trying to do? 3 Spirits City. Will old he die? Bai Cece was worried. Bai Cece gritted her teeth, and the sound of the zither changed. The calming song of peace and peace instantly became beautiful and seductive, making people's blood boil. The heavenly maiden roar, which was created with reference to the heavenly demon chant, was the most bewitching, creating many illusions. This. Is this really the whirlpool sword spirit tempering technique? You want to save him? Do Yong asked. His body trembled as he took a small step forward. The figure in the center of the storm staggered. Those blurry memories floated up in his mind. Emotions and sighs flowed out from the accumulated years. These words struck a chord in the hearts of the other 2. Clang, clang, clang. Bai Cece looked at the surging whirlpool sword storm in shock. After a long while, she spat out, "What kind of monster is he?" Today, I stand alone in the wind and play the 7-layer kill again. There were very few saints who lived alone. Most of them had a family behind them. Even if they did not have a family, they still had a disciple to inherit their legacy. The 3 of them could already feel the storm whirlpool formed by the countless sword gleams behind them, the ripples created by the frenzied slicing of the air, that power. Even saint-level martial saints felt a chill down their spines. Run! Do Yong simply turned around and ran. As the wind blew, both of them felt a chill. The sound of the guqin seemed to have a soothing power, and the whole world seemed to calm down. This was the Ansi song, This was Bai Cici's most famous song. It was a combination of Sanskrit singing and soul calming. It was the best at calming people's hearts. The three of them could clearly feel the whirlpool sword storm behind them stopping. Ha! Let's see what you can do now. The three of them heaved a sigh of relief at the same time, and the whirlpool sword storm only paused for a second before chasing after He Yuming without hesitation. Bai Cici had a look of hesitation. Jinghao's heart was in a perilous state. Bai Cici immediately came to her senses, and immediately took out her white jade guqin without caring about her image. She hugged it with one hand, and her right hand's 5 fingers slid across the strings. Is it over? Magic Flute asked. It's possible, Bai Cici said. If Tang Tian did not die under such a strong whirlpool sword storm, then his martial spirit will definitely be tempered to a terrifying level. It is only a matter of time before he steps into the saint level, and it will be very soon. And once he steps into the saint level, his martial spirit, that is far stronger than others, will make him even more terrifying. Bai Cici shook her head. No, I am thinking of where to burn incense for him. The whirlpool sword storm swayed, as though it was drunk, and slowly moved towards a direction. If Tang Tian did not die, then Cetus constellation would definitely lose. Although they were saints, but that did not mean they did not need to think about the future. To obtain victory and forgive the other party's actions, such a king's style only existed in books, and even more overlords liked to settle scores after the fall. In the past, there were 3 saints that caused many casualties to Lei Yang's army, and after the defeat, the 3 saints wanted to escape, but were directly surrounded and killed by Lei Yang's army. Jinghao was dumbstruck. This thing can move. A general's success is built on the bones of tens of thousands. If I want to become a famous general, how can I not kill people? Tang Cho said without raising his head. He was collecting the papers on the table. Not only do I want to kill people, I want to kill a lot of people. Damn it! The whirlpool sword storm increased its speed again. A faint voice, like a whisper in the wind. Do Yong looked at the desolate wilderness and suddenly said, I have a bad premonition. Your Majesty's decision this time might be wrong. Do Yong muttered to himself, I have never seen such a weird person before. I am thinking if Tang Tian did not die this time, would he become like Lion King Leong? The pressure on the 3 of them increased, but Bai Cici's words caused him to become silent. Just like that time, singing to one's heart's content, a song of flowing time. The 3 saints on the hillside were dumbstruck. The wind caressed his face, causing his hair and clothes to flutter. He flew up to the tallest tower of the base, and could see the entire base. He caressed the shiny copper flute in his hands. His warm eyes were deep and tranquil. The whirlpool sword storm was extremely huge, rumbling and rumbling as it approached. Its power was extremely terrifying. Even though the 3 of them had stepped into the saint ranks, but facing such a terrifying power, they still felt their hearts palpitating. The whirlpool sword storm that was like rain shuddered, like a tall pile of building blocks that suddenly received an impact. With a tremble, it looked as though it could collapse at any time. Jinghao, who was standing nearby, could see it clearly. Countless of sword auras flowed down like an avalanche, bringing forth a scalp-numbing sword hiss. Fight! Let's run! Bai Cici said straightforwardly. The 2 of them became silent again. The 3 of them sprinted. Their speed was extremely fast, but the whirlpool sword storm that seemed to be drunk behind them also increased its speed. The rumbling sounds behind them did not get further away, but instead got closer. Don't tell me you have enmity with the saints. Magic Flute chuckled. His smile was like a spring breeze. Do Yong looked at Bai Cici, somewhat surprised. Bai Cici had a cold personality. It was the first time Do Yong had heard her speak so much in one breath. Seeing He Yuming leading the whirlpool sword storm away, disappearing into the horizon, Do Yong and Bai Cici, who had flown far away, returned the way they came, both of them rejoicing. Bai Cixi remained silent. Tang Cho had just said that. From the other side of the base came the sounds of intense fighting. But please don't let anything happen to you. I never thought that after dying for so many years, I would actually have the chance to become even stronger. Young Master was like a painting standing in the wind, his white robes fluttering. Damn it! The whirlpool sword storm is chasing even faster. He Yuming's face turned white. His scalp went numb. He could no longer care about his suave image. Activating all the true power in his body, he spread his legs and sprinted with all his might. After a few minutes, Jinghao regained his senses from the shock. All right, as long as it was something related to Tang Tian, if it did not change beyond recognition, if it did not become strange and perverted, then that would be truly strange. The value of this fellow's existence was most probably to make the world abnormal. Rumble, rumble. Whirlpool sword spirit tempering technique. I have never heard of it being able to move. This thing has always been used to temper the martial spirit, and not to run around after drinking. The battle at the corner had alarmed everyone. Everyone was stunned by Wen Zhang's strength. 20 high-leveled martial artists surrounded and killed Wen Zhang, but Wen Zhang still looked to be at ease. His bewitching gaze was frantically writing. Piece after piece of paper filled with pictures and words were continuously being completed by Tang Cho. Although I do not wish to trouble you, but this time we need time. Tang Cho said coldly, "You better do it well and properly shock the small fry." After a moment, he raised his head and looked straight at Bai Cixi. "What do we do?" 20 people actually could not do anything to Wen Zhang. Many of the mechanical martial artists who were training were prepared to provide support, but very quickly everyone received orders from above not to make a move. Do Yong looked at the two of them. "If we do this, it will be a little embarrassing. At least the three of us are saints." Bai Cixi's beautiful eyes also looked at Do Yong. The wind seemed to be getting colder. Magic flutes silently appeared behind Tang Cho, not disturbing him. A Cho truly foresees things like a god. Magic flute exclaimed. Tang Chao's position was extremely good. He could see every detail of the battlefield. His eyes lit up with a bewitching light aura. He was completely focused. The brush in his hand was writing at an astonishing speed. "Yes, it's over." Tang Cho stretched his back, his bewitching gaze regaining its coldness. "This time, we have obtained sufficient data. I need to study it properly." "What do we do?" Do Yong asked straightforwardly. "This monster is definitely coming for us." "Split up and run." He Yuming shouted. "Seems like it." He Yuming's expression was sluggish. The white paper in front of him was filled with all sorts of pictures. Every corner was filled with words. Those seemingly ordinary martial techniques in Wen Zhang's hands were shockingly powerful. "CC, use your zither." He Yuming shouted. Tang Cho suddenly stopped, threw away the brush in his hand, and asked without turning his head, "Why are you here?" "I will burn incense for him." Do Yong swore. With a sigh, young Master restrained himself. His eyebrows drooped, and his eyes closed, the copper flute placed horizontally on his lips. The two of them were speechless. "I am a spirit general destined to become a famous general. Saints are my opponents." Tang Cho then reminded, "You have to be careful. We have caused the Honorable Martial Alliance to be in such a difficult situation. They will definitely think of ways to deal with us. Such a good opportunity. They will not miss it. Even if it was a berserk 9th level star spirit beast, after a song, it would fall asleep peacefully." Chapter 463. What spirit domain is this? So soft, I want to sleep. The opponent is a saint. Blind cord, old man Zhangming. He did not place him in his eyes. This kind of martial artist, who was at the bottom of the Heaven Road list, naturally did not attract his attention. Adding that he was old, he did not have much potential to grow, and was barely a guard. Zhangming, his expression was calm. The martial artists beside him were all elites of the family. The attack on Cetus constellation was pushed by his uncle, but no one expected that it would be stuck in a deadlock. They wanted to force him back. When the flute sound came out, Zhang Ming, he was still indifferent until he suddenly realized the dusky sky behind young Master Magic Flute had actually turned blue, and he quivered. Dual Reverse Wheel was a pure offensive spirit domain and did not have any defensive capabilities. Suddenly, a flute sound came out, causing him to stop in his tracks. He raised his head at the top of the tower. A white-robed figure entered his vision. Two martial artists screamed in pain and were directly flung out. "Gentlemen, please listen to the seventh kill. Heart without worries." He was like a celestial being from a painting, and Three Spirits City's advertisement in Onyx Soul had also spread to the Honorable Martial Alliance, and everyone thought that they had to first pull out this nail. To force Ursa Major Constellation to compete with them in terms of strength, they had to cut off all of their evil methods. They originally did not care about Wen Jiang and thought that he was just a nameless person, but they did not expect that an elder would recognize Wen Jiang's identity. Wen Jiang was a saint, and Zhang Ming, his own strength, was also close to a saint. Zhang Ming, he did not believe that the small Three Spirits City could defend against a saint and a half-step saint at the same time. Furthermore, he had 4 gold-ranked martial artists by his side, and all of them were the essence of the Zhang family. Ever since Tang Tian appeared out of nowhere and obtained the title of Honorable Martial Alliance Whetstone, the geniuses of the Honorable Martial Alliance gradually faded out of everyone's sight. These geniuses who were originally complacent were greatly shaken and all returned to their homes to train. When Zhang's eyes released a cold glint, he knew he had to rush in front of the opponent, and only in close combat could he unleash the power of his spirit domain. The saint who was once famous, but suddenly disappeared, immediately made the Honorable Martial Alliance excited. In a short period of time, he unleashed 4 completely opposite martial techniques, and the 4 completely opposite auras were forcefully stacked together. Wen Jiang could clearly feel the pervasive flute sound, frantically corroding his spirit domain. Upon losing the protection of the spirit domain, he could only wait helplessly. These proud sons and daughters of the heavens were all stifled in their hearts. Since when had their limelight been stolen by a poor boy from the countryside? But Tang Tian's battle achievements were real. He had forcefully seized Ursa Major Constellation, and the rumors of Tang Tian defeating saints had been spreading. But Zhang and the others had their own information channels and knew that the news was true. Zhang Ming, he felt that the strategy to attack Cetus constellation was feasible. He had also asked Seventh Brother about it, and Seventh Brother felt that it was a good plan and the chances of success were high, and it would be of great help to the later battles. To the chords, Ming of the dual reverse. Once the Honorable Martial Alliance became serious, their terrifying information-gathering capabilities would immediately be displayed. The grievances between Sai Lei and the Yifan family surfaced, and they even knew that the Yifan family patriarch had requested Sai Lei's father to apologize to Sai Lei, including Chu Shi's rage at home, and Wen Jiang's actions after that were all seen by them. The flute sound was melodious, and young Master Magic Flute's face was filled with joy and satisfaction. He had forgotten about the past and only felt an indescribable satisfaction, an indescribable happiness. He sat on the grass, and the soft grass made him feel even more comfortable. It was a pity that Tang Tian was not around. If not, he could spar with Tang Tian, and that would not be a wasted trip. I also have my own obsession. Bang! But Zhang Ming, he thought that it was just a small trick. War had always been a competition of true strength, and following the spread of the King Kong Wall, they finally struggled out of the quagmire. Zhang Ming, his heart was filled with fighting intent. With his current strength against a weaker saint, he still had a chance of winning. And according to what he knew, the saint that Tang Tian defeated was also a saint that did not have any improvements after being bestowed as a saint. He was curious about young Master Magic Flute, the once extremely famous music grandmaster. His entire life could be said to be a legend. No one knew exactly how strong he was. Between many martial artists, they were mutually contradictory, mutually conflicting, and were unable to be used together. But his spirit domain was able to perfectly switch between them. Lone wolf when Jiang. I got hit. But so what if he is a saint? He vaguely remembered that he had something to do, but no matter how he thought, he could not remember. Very quickly, the vague impression disappeared, and his face had a satisfied smile, and he just wanted to sleep like that. He was extremely confident in the upcoming battle. The dual reverse wheels only had one use, but its might was astonishing. It went against the basic common sense of martial techniques, and was the complete opposite of martial techniques. The trouble it brought to the enemy was simply a disaster, especially for close quarters combat. It was extremely powerful, but a pity it was just an incomplete spirit general. The sound of the flute was pervasive, causing Zhang Ming's face to suddenly reveal a blank look, but after a moment he quivered, and after a while he became bewildered again, and this repeated over and over again. It was extremely strange. Although the opponent was not as strong as him, but the two of them definitely gave it their all, and did not hold back at all. The ancient trees reached the sky, the lush green grass, the warm sunlight, the azure blue sky with floating white clouds, the colorful flowers blooming, the sparkling and translucent lake in the distance, and the beautiful sound of the flute lingering in his ears. The sound of the flute was indescribably beautiful, causing Zhang Ming to be dazed for a moment. All the worries in his heart vanished like smoke. He faced the empty space in front of him and struck out with lightning speed. 1 tune 7 deaths. He had long completed the first 6 tunes. Only the 7th tune. He was not satisfied for the 7th tune. He had racked his brains for the 7th tune and almost went berserk until he died. He finally perfected the true 7th tune. Who knew? The battle would still end up in a stalemate that the Zhang family did not want to see. Ursa Major Constellation used a poison battle to tell Heaven's Road how to use poison on the battlefield. I never thought that I would have the chance to be able to blow it. It is good. The light around him rapidly changed. Zhang Ming's appreciative gaze immediately became cold. He completely disregarded the surrounding martial artists, soared into the sky, and shot towards the magic flute at the tip of the pagoda. When Jiang rushed out of the cave with his face covered in dirt and heaved a sigh of relief, Zhang Ming, he looked as though he was taking a stroll in the park. He was extremely confident and at ease. The intense explosion caused him to be unable to stand steadily, but the illusion in front of him had blasted out a gray hole. But compared to the dazzling Tang Tian, they were still dim. A cold, intense surfaced in his heart. If not for the star treasure protecting him, he would most likely be dead. He grabbed onto the puppy ornament tightly. The ordinary-looking puppy was actually an item of great origin, Canis Minor Constellation's gold star treasure, Rui Dog. As one of the 10 Equatorial Palace halls, how could Canis Minor Constellation's gold star treasure be ordinary? The name Rui Dog sounded extremely beautiful, but in truth, there was an ancient Yin king, hound's martial spirit sealed inside. With the nourishment of the star power every day, it was even more ferocious and powerful than before. Zhang Ming, he used his blood essence to raise it and was connected to his heart. An illusion-type spirit domain required time to form, and he could not give the opponent any time. When Jiang raised his head, his gaze like a sword pointed straight at Magic Flute, who was at the top of the pagoda. When Jiang's eyes flashed with a trace of seriousness, seeking death, Zhang Ming's entire body trembled, his face revealing a look of pain, but he immediately struggled out of the illusion. Zhang Ming, he squinted his eyes, The Honorable Martial Alliance's intelligence on Three Spirit City was very thorough. Three Spirit City had very few strong martial artists, but they had two sound-type martial artists, Blind Cord Old Man and Young Master Magic Flute. Seeing that when Jiang had infiltrated Three Spirit City as expected, the Honorable Martial Alliance immediately took action. Zhang Ming, he did not make a move. In his eyes, these small fries were not worth his time. The reason why I am not willing to dissipate is because I want to play it. That is, Young Master Magic Flute. The hole was quickly shrinking when Jiang did not care about anything else and rushed towards the hole. The Honorable Martial Alliance's research on star treasures was unparalleled, but using blood essence to raise star treasures was an extremely unorthodox method. But such an extremely dangerous method had an obvious effect. When Jiang heard the sound of the flute, he was like a cat that sensed danger. All the hairs on his body stood. He was a saint, and his intuition was many times sharper than Zhang Ming. Damn it! The beautiful tune rippled out from his copper flute, and threads of light aura, like smoke, slowly flew out from the copper flute. All these colorful lights floated in the air, like seeds sprouting and growing. The green grew into trees, the red grew into flowers, the blue blossomed into the sky, and the gold grew into the sun. Magic Flute continued to play with his eyes closed. The threads of light aura floated towards him. Their families were illustrious, they had sufficient resources, and they themselves were talented, and now that they were willing to work hard, their strength would soar by leaps and bounds. Zhang Ming, he secretly shook his head. Tang Tian was truly a waste of resources. To him, a spirit general like Young Master Magic Flute was used to fight against enemies, and was not strong. Using him to charge and break through enemy lines would not be of much use. For a spirit general like Young Master Magic Flute, the most suitable person should be a teacher with so many rare ancient music scores, with a unique understanding of music. It was the light and heat that this crippled spirit general could unleash. He was about to take action and get rid of the few cannon fodder, when his face suddenly changed. Saint! Zhang Ming, he exclaimed in his heart, and then a faint regret surfaced in his heart. Such a pity, it was not his own spirit general. A few martial artists fiercely pounced over. When Zhang's surroundings lit up with a black light aura, that was his spirit domain, dual inverse wheel. In this region, he could attack as he wished, and when he switched between martial techniques, there would not be any hindrance. When Jiang whistled, his four limbs in the air moved at the same time, 16 different colored light auras, accurately landing on the blade and sword. One blade and one sword lit up with dazzling light auras, appearing at the cave entrance at the same time. Suddenly, a small dog accessory on Zhang Ming, his waist suddenly lit up with a dazzling light aura, and a smear of gold light aura drilled into Zhang Ming, his body. Before he could retreat, his surroundings changed. The lively scene in front of him was serene, without any killing intent, but it caused his scalp to go numb.